There we go.
Thank you, Adam. And thanks for being on time.
Okie doke. So there we are. So now we're live on Mr. Sci-Fi, and we're live on the table, and everyone can have fun and adventures. So why don't we start with you, Adam, since we don't tend to start with you.
Yeah, we normally don't tend to start with me.
Nope. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. Hi, guys. There we go. Hi, guys. Let me turn my phone down so it doesn't bleed into everything.
Yeah, I mean, the standards.
And I am Adam Sartain. I am a actor, voice actor, and musician. I play the tuba. Mm-hmm. And I am an associate producer on Spaceman.
Yay!
I just got a dump of voiceover auditions.
Oh,
so
great.
I'm doing those.
Cool.
I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I had a gig as a caller on a new call-ins celebrity show.
Huh.
Or a celebrity call-in show. So I pretended I was someone else and had a question for a certain celebrity. So
wow,
it was a lot of fun.
That's great.
I got to use my improv chops once again, so it was good. Don't really need anything right now. I mean, I'm always open for table reads or if anyone needs, obviously, voiceover work. I have my own studio ready to go here. So.
And people can find your samples of your voiceover work where?
On my website, which is adamrsartain.wix.com/Adam Sartain. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat.
Great. Terrific.
That has not only my a lot of my headshots, my full complete resume, and then a complete section dedicated just to voiceover, including an entire list of all the voices I can do, as well as several different voice reels.
Great. Terrific.
Yeah.
3 cheers. Yay. Excellent. So, and I guess I don't think we have any questions for Mr. Sci-Fi yet. So, Dave, why don't we do you while you're there in all your glory?
Hi, let me hit cancel here. Okay. So, and save while I'm at it.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Edison, folks, editor, former stand-up comedian, editor of Space Command, the aforementioned Space Command. We're working on the pandemic episode, the selfie episode, the quarantine episode, also known as Ripple Effect. And it's bulging now to an hour and 55 minutes.
Yes.
And 32 seconds.
Yay.
And we're planning on debuting it. Maybe a little rough around a couple of edges, but it'll be pretty much done by the 28th now?
Yes, that's when we're having the convention.
June 28th at the online all-day Space Command convention.
Yes. And
I'm just cranking away and going as fast as the computer will let me.
Wow.
I'm also the author of and illustrator of this book, The Man with the List.
Yes.
A picture book for grown-up skeptics, free thinkers, realists, doubters, questioners, agnostics, atheists, or anyone who can't believe in the unbelievable.
Great.
Which is not only available at Amazon, but you can see the entire book animated and read by yours truly at YouTube. If you just punch in Man with List picture, it'll probably come right up.
Great.
And there's a shorter version as well, just a trailer, but there's also the full-length version.
Which I would highly recommend. You've got my high recommendation on that book. Great fun.
Thank you very much. And other than that, trying to stay healthy as the COVID is about to resurge, and just trying to get some sleep every now and again, and moving forward.
So Dave, I have a question.
Yeah.
I just called up your book on YouTube, and there's 2 versions, one at 2:17 and one at 3:36. Which one?
Yes, the short version is the trailer is 2:17. I should take that one down.
I think you should have a trailer that's longer than the book.
It's like the TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside than on the outside.
Yeah, I think that'd be ideal. So good. Anything else you need, Dave?
Oh no, just a couple more weeks to finish this episode.
Yeah, but
Dave's doing happen.
Yeah, Dave's doing a great job on the pandemic episode of Space Command Ripple Effect. It's coming out great.
It's a little trickier than one might expect because it's just actors sending in their shots from home, but sometimes the backgrounds need to change, and they've got to be suddenly in a science fiction environment. So
that's really fun.
It's been a little challenging.
Yeah.
So in fact, I rendered it out last night at full resolution.
Wow.
Took 11 and a half hours to render it out, and some of the things came out wrong, so I'm fixing those at the moment. So anyway, if you see me looking up like this, I'm not trying to find the man with the list. I'm just looking at the screen up above that has the project on it, and I'm working on Space Command, but I'm listening.
That's great. Yay. 3 cheers. So
very well. Thank you, folks.
So great. So I guess Colleen, are you there? I see your name, but I don't see you. There. Okay. So if you want to take your turn, there you go. Hi.
How are you guys?
We're good.
That's good. Yeah, I just wanted to say hi and tune in and see how everybody was doing at the table.
Cool. Great. So anything you need?
No, nothing I need. I'm working on manuscript editing for friends, and I just finished one up, and we're just out here in Minnesota enjoying the nice weather.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, good to have you here.
How is the weather in Minnesota?
Yeah.
How is the weather in Minnesota? How is the weather in Minnesota?
The weather is in the 80s.
Wow. Jesus.
80s.
Wow.
Right.
Well,
we do get it hot, but we also get it cold.
Yes.
So.
Well, that's great. Well, good to see you. 3 cheers.
Again online, yeah.
Great. Good to see you.
The weather as opposed to the climate in Minnesota.
Yes. And so
we're not going to go there.
So Adam, do we have any Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
We not comments, but we did get one question from last time that I wanted to read. I don't know if the person said it's around, but let's skip that and we'll wait.
Okay, sure. That's fine. So Cherry Davis, do you want to take your turn? Go for it. You have to unmute. There you go. Great.
Everyone, Cherry, and thank you for letting me join you guys. Currently, I am beginning to work on a new script. I came up with an idea for a horror, and then I have a script that I need to work on for a web series that is a ghost roommate, and it's a comedy, sci-fi, geeky sort of thing. I pitched it once before, and they said they didn't like it, and I sort of set it aside. But then some of my other friends said it's a good idea. I just need to tweak it, so I'm working on that. So I'm kind of keeping busy, sheltering at home while trying to harness my boredom into being creative. And so I've never written a movie script. I'm kind of looking to see if I can find someone to work with me and sort of guide me on how to do it, since normally I muddle things about on my own. But I think my horror script of a kids at camp getting a ghost story that a monster is killing all these evil people, and at the end they realize the monster isn't a monster, instead it's a hero protecting the children.
Okay.
That's fun.
The main thing to remember about when you're writing a script is that it's only what you see and hear. So it's kind of like, just try to watch the thing in your mind and see what you're seeing, see what you're hearing. Never over describe the visuals, because people will skip them. The descriptions of things should only be like 2 or 3 lines at most, and dialogue should generally be pretty lean. A good way to tell if it works is to read it out loud, or to have a table read with actors around a table reading it. You want to have people speak differently from each other so that they're differentiated.
Especially kids.
Yeah.
When we had to do kids, we went to talk to them at what's it? Montessori.
Yeah.
And ask them their opinions, because we're not around them enough.
No.
We're around them, but not enough.
No.
And so they let us tape them and ask their opinion, what they were thinking about, because we would have been writing kids from, the way back.
Yeah.
So it was great to have them, just answer, the current day. It's the same thing that happens to people who overwrite description. They often get excellent scripts, but older scripts, where they used to have a lot of description. But if you do that, if you do it like with the costumes or the sets or anything, the set designer, the costume designer, they get mad at you. They say, that's my job.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, whoa, okay.
But
So that's changed.
So but again, just take a crack at it. I mean, it's not, it's just a, if you go online and look at scripts, there's tons of scripts online, particularly of movies that have been made, and just kind of see how they lay out on the page. You can get Final Draft or Movie Magic Screenwriter as a program to write a screenplay, or I think there's some free ones also. And that's really about it.
But if you just get to the end of what we tend to call the first draft or the shitty draft,
yes,
the shitty first draft, and then you get to like have a reading. You can have people from the table with a reading, and I know that some people are doing it on Zoom. But then you start to fix it and fix it and fix it and finding things. And although when you first finish a script, you're thinking, oh, I'm so done. But once you start the rewrite, it's really cool because you've got the plumbing. And it's like then you start to put in the beautiful drapes and the this and the that and the things you never imagined, as you put up the walls. And it tends to get like a lot better. So if after the first flush of, oh my God, I've gotten to the end, but you can't, I always say you can't rewrite the blank page. But once you have something, even if it's kind of not very good, you have the bare bones, and then you can really start to play. And give it, I always give it like multiple passes, like the plot pass. Where does it slow down? Where does it not make sense? Then I'll do the character pass with each voice where, wait, how could she know that? I never told her that. She's suddenly reacting to something I never told her in the plot.
Right.
And the final thing is the theme pass. Like, what do I want to say at heart? Because that's what really gets people, when you have a consistent theme. And often when I do the theme pass, that's the most telling for me because it really shapes up then when I say, is it about independence or is it about interdependence, or is it about courage? What is it really about? And that's when you find your most fun stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So great. Okay, 3 cheers. Yay. So Adam, any Mr. Sci-Fi questions? Nope.
Okay.
Yikes. Boy, oh boy. Okay.
No, thank you.
So Carol, I guess it's your turn. Carol Field. Just unmute. Trying to. There we go.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Got it.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you. Thank you for being here for me. I really appreciate it. Mark, your artwork from last week blew me away. I just want to tell you, I just could have stared at it. It is one of the talents I never had.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Look, I can't believe you can see something and put it on a piece of paper. It still kind of blows me away.
It's fun.
Okay, I have a little list. I'm available for table reads.
Great.
This is really romantic. Does anybody know any good exterminators? If you
No.
put it in the chat. I know there's Orkin and Western, but whatever. If you do, just put it in the chat.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. To show a deck to people, is it better to have a laptop or was a tablet good enough?
Either. It's whatever. I mean, that's pretty much the same difference. It's whatever shows it clearly. So either one works. You can even send it to people, as a file. It's again
file.
Whatever works. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Whatever works.
People do it a million different ways. It's how you sort of have to judge how you best pitch. So it's very individual.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Roadmap writers contacted me, and they said one of their agents would like to see one of my books.
Oh, that's nice.
To just discuss it and see if it's good for a screenplay.
Okay.
I already wrote a pilot to it. Whatever. And I wrote back and said, thank you. I'm really excited. It's a big agent at a big agency. And then Roadmap writers said, but in order to get you to them, like, listen, I get the girl's name. I can call her myself.
Right.
But I don't like doing that. Yeah. But in order to get to her, they are charging us $250.
No.
Well, wait. There's all these different things that spring up. So
I know.
What is Roadmap writers? I mean, just tell me what they are.
They're like a roadmap for people who are writing to focus them either with quality, with classes, or write to agents. or
Well,
production companies.
But you have the name of the agent, correct?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's a little tricky because if you went into that with the understanding that they would, for a fee, hopefully connect you up with an agent, then you can decide if you want to pay that $250. It's not as if an agent were doing that, and it's illegal for an agent to do that.
Right.
So, well, managers also can be managers. Oh, now is this a manager or an agent? I'm sorry.
It's a big agency.
Yeah. Well, it's probably. I mean, So yeah, I mean, I'd probably pay the $250 if that was what led you to that person. It's up to you.
It feels a little dicey. Do they have a client list?
They're big. It's UTA.
Yeah. Well, if you ended up with an agent at UTA, that's a significant thing.
I know.
And so
Roadmap. Do you have a list of people that
Roadmap
has helped?
Anybody can contact Roadmap writers. They read your scripts and they read your books and they see what they like.
Yeah. I mean,
and then they connect you.
I find most of these organizations to be sort of not worth the trouble, but again, it's up to you. I mean, if you have the agent's name, you can contact the agent and do due diligence. But if their specific service is to connect you up with an agent, and that's what they charge, that's.
So that doesn't sound exorbitant to you?
Yeah, well, it sounds a little high to me. I mean, like for instance, if you pay $250 and then the agent just says, well, let me know how it progresses, bye, what are you paying $250 for? Whereas if it's an agent who says, I love this, I'm going to take it and run with it, that's a different thing.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out with Roadmap, if they can direct you to any of their clients where this has worked.
You mean where someone's gotten a career?
Well,
or a sale?
I think I know someone who did really well on there.
Okay, well then talk to them. Yeah, talk to them.
They seem pretty discreet.
Okay. Well, yeah,
they have all different types of classes and stuff. This is just one of their apertures.
Sure.
Okay, well, yeah, but if you can talk to somebody, because there are so many of these organizations where they aren't worth it.
Yeah.
That it's always good to talk to anybody who has actually gone through the process, and then you see if the way they describe the process, it seems to be worth it to you. But it's, I don't know. I don't.
Well, I mean, the question is always what's going to actually work, and you don't want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars without anything happening. $250, probably is worth it. Do your due diligence, and then if you can afford it, do it. But because if it led to something, that'd be great. But you don't want to make a habit of that because, again, you can just burn through a lot of money. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to use you as a therapist for 30 seconds.
Sure.
I came to this like 2 days ago. I said, why did you stop acting? I didn't really stop, but I kind of curtailed.
Yes.
And I thought, because of logistics. I had to cancel my new job all day long.
Yeah.
I'd have to drive across town, change clothes in the car, put on mascara and red lights, see 17 people who look like me and 50 who didn't. And it all came down to logistics.
Yes.
I thought, that's not cool, but it's reality.
Well, ultimately, the main thing is that your life belongs to you. That's true of all of us. And at the end of the day, it's what serves you in your life. So many people spend so much time and energy chasing a dream that doesn't come to fruition. It's sort of like the goal is to have a life that's meaningful to oneself. And yeah, so what you just said was totally valid. Of course. I mean, when you were talking about my artwork, the reason I stopped doing artwork was because I had to focus on writing. And so that's why I did it. I didn't love artwork. I mean, I still do little projects like putting that Spock face on the spacesuit and, putting Elon Musk on some 1950s, science fiction book covers. But I don't draw and paint and sculpt like I did back in the day.
Also, the fine art world was not very appealing.
We didn't like it. So yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that one of the things that pulled me out of acting was emotionally, it did not seem to suit. I wanted something with more creative control, whereas actors seem to be so much, actor hyphenates is different, but actors who are not actor hyphenates seem to be so much blown by the wind that I spent a long time thinking, whose career do I really envy given the reality of their career? And when I couldn't think of anyone, this was for theater, I just said, I should tilt back to writing.
Yeah. But so, yeah, that's fine. So anything else, Carol?
I just wanted to share that with my group.
Sure.
Like, why did my life change so much? Because agents, they say go to the audition yesterday. They don't care you have to change your life. They couldn't care less.
No.
Right, that's all. I've taken up all your time.
Okay.
You've given me a lot.
Okay.
God bless you. Everybody's safe. Thank
Great. Yay. So Adam, any questions for Mr. Sci-Fi?
No, none yet, but
Wow.
I do have an anonymous question.
Okay.
The question is, or they say, when the spaceship lifted off, this is from Space Command, obviously.
Right,
when
sure.
the spaceship lifted off for the first time,
Mhm.
it used a ramp system.
Yes.
Did you come up with that yourself, or was that the result of research?
That was a deliberate tip of the hat to When Worlds Collide and also Fireball XL5. It was, it was just a fun thing that no one had done recently, and I thought it'd be really fun to do it. So that's why I did it. Originally a lot of rocket tests were using ramps and so forth, and that's why back in the 50s and 60s they were showing some of those techniques. But I just wanted to do it, so I decided to do it.
Very cool.
That's the reason. So let's see. So I guess Louis Shapiro, should we take you?
And remember, Judge, Paul is calling in from England, aren't you?
Paul? Oh, there he is.
Oh, Paul.
So yeah, should we take Paul, I guess, since he's from England?
Paul
Sure.
and then Louis.
We'll do
Okay.
Paul and then Louis. Yes, go for it.
Sorry, Louis.
Lewis is chewing too, so
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening. How are you all?
Good.
Good. How is England?
It's very, very wet and very cold at the moment.
Oh dear.
It's been glorious, and then all of a sudden it's just changed. As soon as they released the lockdown, the weather changed.
Yes.
I still don't know whether I'm going to be able to get out to LA in September, because I think Donald Trump still won't let us in.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, I've got my Dettol and my injection, so.
So
what's it like there? Is you still going to wear the masks and everything as
Yes.
you go out?
Yes.
Yeah, we still do that. It's very warm here. It's in the 90s right now. But, people are out on the streets, have masks. When you go into shops and restaurants and so forth, they require masks. But they're starting to serve food in restaurants, spacing the tables more widely.
Yeah, and they have like helmet things, to protect the waiters, and we go in wearing masks. And
Hang on a minute.
Sure.
Uh-oh, there he goes.
Oh no.
Wow. Okay, there. Yeah, he's got one.
Oh, you've got one. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what the waiters are wearing.
Exactly.
And so you can eat, but it's like spaced apart. And you walk in with a face mask, and you just take it out slip it down to eat.
Yes.
But people are still.
Though of course, Elaine and I could wear spacesuits if we chose to. You can see that's 2 of the 8 that I own.
But we'll have to see. We will have to see what happens, because things are spiking again.
Yes. The cases. But so, is there anything you need, Paul?
No. To be honest, I've been talking to you about the website that I'm getting. Getting up and running. I have spent the last since March. Battling with my web hosting company, which is in America, saying that there's a problem, that I can't get onto online and all this. And today we finally worked it out. It was from their end. Apparently their data server wasn't recognizing my computer. It's been sorted out now. The website is nearly complete.
Wow,
so anyone who wants to join, the idea of this website is anyone in the industry, no matter what you are, it costs £12 a year, to be honest, which is like $10 a year.
Yes.
So say Mark, you wanted a director in China or Hong Kong or whatever. You just type in director, and all those people's names would come to you, and you could then contact them direct. You bypass the agent, which makes it cheaper for you to hire them. But agents can still join on as well. And that they can find work. Now, if you wanted to, there'll be a place where there's a jobs board where people are able to advertise jobs. And I think it's going to work. I mean, I've had an awful lot of interest in it. So
that's great.
So that's actually up and running now. It's pauldove.com. I shall a little note on the thing.
Okay.
But apart from that, I'm fine. I just so glad to have sorted the problem out. And I've got to say, even it's taken me a while, but the company I use, which is webhostingpad.com, has been absolutely fantastic. So,
well, that's great. Well, congratulations. 3 cheers.
Yeah, that's great. What a good idea.
Yeah.
And I just hope I can get out there. I mean, when I'm out there, I normally stay in Redondo Beach because I've got family there. So
that's great. That's great. Well, we're glad to see you here on the screen. So we'll talk soon. Yay! 3 cheers.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Adam, any Mr. Sci-Fi questions yet?
Still pretty quiet on the Western Front. We have 30 people watching.
Well, okay.
But no one's commenting. That's
Well,
weird.
if anyone wants to ask questions about any of the things I've done over my career, please do on the Mr. Sci-Fi side. Lewis, I guess it's your turn. Go for it. Okay. Oh, you have to unmute. You have to unmute your mic.
Unmute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yay.
Now we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Unfortunately, like at 6:30, I got to put on another hat. I'm an elected member of my neighborhood council.
Oh, great.
And we're going to have a meeting about some city business. We've had 4 stores in the next block over were vandalized. So I'm privileged to be able to act as a mediator between the city, well, not myself, but the whole council. And, you know, I love to see how the city works. You know, I mean, this democracy is beautiful. You know, most of the people in my neighborhood are from Central America or Korea. I mean, it's a great mix, you know?
Yeah. It's great.
And we're all there working together and we're learning how it works and it's fantastic, but I have to leave. As far as this place goes, I'm thinking about doing a lot of writing, but that's it. I just think about it, but I enjoy listening to you guys talk, and hopefully someday I'll sit down and I'll write something really good.
Good.
Well,
Right,
may I suggest, since you're doing something that most people wouldn't do, could you start journaling, keeping a journal of making notes as to what you're about to do and how that whole thing plays out?
Just about what people say, what different kinds of things that you observe. It's always a good idea. It gives you a toolbox to utilize in your writing. It can be very, very helpful.
But if you just start journaling about your current experiences, it may really be a very rich thing to pull from later on.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay, Lewis. So anything from Mr. Sci-Fi? Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I've seen a few of the, you know, the cuts, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. You know, and I enjoyed it very much, but I don't have anything.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine, Lewis. Thank you. So, Adam, go ahead, please.
Yes.
Adam, you should put on a cap or something when there's a question.
A question cap.
Yes, Jesus.
And then Mark will go right to you.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Go for it.
So apparently, I don't know what the defaults are on this darn YouTube thing, but I was on the wrong chat. They were chatting the whole time, and I just didn't see it.
I see.
But now I do.
Okay, this
and
system breaks down.
we have a question from longtime watcher Mark Lungo.
Yes, hi, Mark.
Who so apparently a friend and I have done several episodes of a Centurions podcast.
Wow.
Would you do us the honor of being one of our guests?
I could. Yes, I could. I don't know how much I'd have to say about Centurions. I wrote a number of them, but sure, of course. Yeah, we can make that happen. You bet.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, great. So let's see. So I guess now, is there anyone else who's like on the East Coast or other continents or anything? Anybody from the East Coast?
Or just needs to.
John, I guess. Yeah, John is. So okay, John. Let's take you then. Go for it.
All right. Pleasure to be with you folks. I was actually referred by another member of the group, a gentleman by the name of James Kirk.
Sure. Oh yeah. Sure.
I co-moderate Screenwriter Networking with him on Facebook, and you guys came highly recommended.
Cool.
I've been writing off and on for the last 15 years, more so in the last couple. I took a almost 12-year break to go serve in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one of my biggest things is I found it a little bit stressful writing especially during the pandemic, because the natural urge that I see, especially going in a lot of the screenwriter groups right now, is to write very pandemic pandemic-centric shorts, episodic television, and feature scripts. I've heard two conflicting aspects to that. The one being is it's something that's avoided now because what a lot of people are looking for is more escapist television and movies. But I've also heard the flip side of that a lot of people are saying that it's a good thing to write about those types of things, continue to raise awareness. So I guess my question is a little bit is what are your personal thoughts on that as far as writing anything that's COVID-19 centric? Would that be to you a do or a don't?
Well, the question for me is always, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to express, communicate? And then so I don't really worry about whether it's current or not. And ironically, I'm creating a show with Rockne O'Bannon, who created Farscape, and we started working on it before the pandemic, and it's about a disease that kills everyone in the world under 60. And so the people 60 and above have to figure out how to save humanity when they can't reproduce. And I have roles for George Takei and Robert Picardo and Mira Furlan and Gates McFadden and the Na Visitor from DS9 and so forth. And so we're going to do a table read of it in the next couple of weeks and via Zoom, and share it with the fans on Mr. Sci-Fi on my YouTube channel. But it's like the only questions really are, what do you want to write and can you sell it? Or alternatively, like in our case, can we make it? Because we have our own studio. And so I would never jump at what the current moment is, because by the time you get something made, the moment is gone. But on the other hand, I wouldn't.
Kind of my thinking a little bit as well.
Right. So it's probably not a good idea to write about COVID unless you really have something you want to say about it that's fresh and important and interesting and entertaining. The main requirement of any film or TV show is to be entertaining. And and if people are all cooped up, like for instance, when I came up with the idea of doing a Space Command episode entirely shot by the actors in their own homes with their own cameras during the pandemic, it's not about the pandemic, but the way it's being shot and the way we're making it is very different. And that makes it interesting to me, certainly. And I think it'll be interesting to my audience, because it's such an experiment. But I found that anytime I do things with the business calculation, it's a mistake. And when I do things from just sheer passion and enthusiasm and wanting to see this exist in the world, I'm usually on very firm ground.
Right on.
Yeah. So that's sort of my thought. Anything else? Anything else you need, John?
Not at the moment. I was actually really excited. That was kind of almost exactly the answer I was looking for.
Cool. Good. And where are you located? Where are you?
I'm actually located in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Great. Well, terrific.
How is it in Clarksville now?
It's hot.
Yes.
It topped out at 95 degrees today.
Yeah. It's it's funny because the one thing the pandemic is doing is it's allowing us all to learn new technologies to really connect where distance is not a problem. So it's ironic that we're all kind of under lockdown, but more communicative with others elsewhere. So that's.
I was just fixing to say distance is no longer a factor. We have so many great ways to bring us all together as writers, producers, directors, what have you. That's just the beauty of technology.
It's
Absolutely.
great, and this technology is definitely something to be very grateful for. So
until the cyber attack.
Of course, until the robots come for us. But it's funny because I was giving an interview yesterday with the science consultant who consults on all the Star Trek series, the new ones. And I mentioned that when Star Trek came out when I was 10, I recorded every episode on reel-to-reel tape in case it never showed again, because you didn't have VCRs when I was a kid. And the only way you could revisit a show is if you recorded it on audio. And so we've come a long, long way. But so great. Well, it's good to have you here, John, and welcome. 3 cheers. Yay. Great. So, Adam, do we have any more Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
Several.
And just to let everyone know,
we'll just do one more.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know, we're simulcasting both on my YouTube channel for my Mr. Sci-Fi and Space Command fans, and also doing our regular roundtable that we normally do in person when illness is not stalking the land. So go ahead, Adam, please.
Sure. This next question, which is a film going to be a familiar one, comes from Shield of the Bear Cosplay.
Yes, and that's his real name.
When is the next episode of Space Command coming out?
Damn good question.
I'm hooked after one.
Good. To answer your question, it's there's actually several answers to this. We're busy at work completing what we call 102, the second hour. We've shot the first 3 hours of the series, and we were prepping the fourth hour of the 12-hour season when the pandemic struck. And so we're still prepping it. We're building creatures, we're building sets. The studio is up and running in terms of, with a small number of people there at any one time. But in the middle of this, of course, we did the new episode, Ripple Effect, with Barbara Bain and Armin Shimmerman and Bob Picardo and all these amazing actors, Christina Moses. And that's a 2-hour episode that we're going to be premiering June 28th, when we have the one-day live streaming online Space Command convention. Plus, we've just completed the audio play, which is a prequel that we're doing with our cast, Doug Jones, Bob Picardo, Michael Harney, etc., Mir Furlan, and that's also being done as a graphic novel, and we're combining them into an animatics. So, and Neil deGrasse Tyson is now in both Ripple Effect and the prequel, which is called United Planets. So the real answer is that June 28th we'll show the first hour. We'll premiere the new 2-hour episode. 102, though, the second hour of the 2-hour pilot, that'll be coming out in the next few months. We're almost done with it. We're getting there. And the prequel, we'll figure out how and when we're releasing that. It'll be soon. So that's the answer to that. So there you go. So so Thane, would you like to take a swing at things?
Sure. Let me unmute here. Yeah, where'd my mute button go?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
You're good.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you sound very lifelike.
I'm alive.
Yay.
I've been keeping busy with my writing workshop every morning. I'm going to send the information to Paul, so he might consider. I mean, to Lewis, so he might consider joining. It's free and certainly kept me engaged and involved the last. Today was day 88 of being locked up and trying to stay creative. My taxes still aren't done, but that's another subject. You all know that I was a Peace Corps volunteer back in the dark ages, the first year of the Peace Corps. And the issue around Black Lives Matter and so on is really coming to the fore, institutional racism and so on. And so trying to motivate people to have conversations around that are sane and sensitive and productive is something I'm doing as I'm vice president, but we don't have a president, so I take care of the vice and working with that group. I think we're in an amazing time when we have a lot of grist for the mill, if you will, wherever you come down, wherever you are in all of this, for rethinking and rewriting and recreating where we go from here. We've said many times that once COVID-19 is behind us, it will be a new normal. And I think the other thing we've learned in the last 2 weeks is it's going to be a new normal on many fronts. And how do we creatively capitalize on that energy is something I've really been thinking a lot about. And trying to, I wrote some poetry this morning, which I haven't done in a long time. I was thinking about Carol's comments that she walked away from acting. Why did I do this? And that's sort of the way and you and your artwork, that's sort of the way I am with poetry. I really haven't written much poetry since I became an actor. Because the glass is only renewed every so often, and trying to balance options. So writing and acting has become my sort of day job, along with working on pulling together some short videos that I played around with, and finding, well, what's the next step. So that's where I'm at. For the most part, I'm healthy and entertained and involved. I think it's real easy to kind of go climb in bed and put the pillow over my head and that's not productive for anybody. And the reality is, the Chinese have a saying, "May you live in interesting times," and I think that's come down for me personally, and I think maybe to our society is we are living in interesting times, and how we move forward in a productive way is the real concern. And I'm going to have another big birthday here in a month, and I want to make it count. However many years are left for me visiting this planet.
Great.
And so that's my focus.
Great. Well, that's good. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. Well said.
And I do have to leave at 7:45. So.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Thank you. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, let's move on to our next question. Also from Mark Lungo, who asks, any thoughts on the old British series UFO?
Yeah, I watched it when it was on. It was a Jerry Anderson show, I believe. It was very distinctive. I actually later worked for Jerry Anderson. He was very well known for shows with marionettes as the main characters, like Supercar and Fireball XL5 when I was a kid. And then he did a show with live actors. He started moving into shows with live actors like Space 1999 and UFO. And then I did one for him called Space Precinct, where I think I wrote 4 of those. The model work was usually very, very good. But they always had a certain level of being preposterous. So yeah, it was a fun show, but not a great show. But definitely as an oddity, well worth checking out. So that's sort of my. But it's funny because the lead on it, Ed Bishop, who wore a white wig, I believe, in that show, he played the lead. He was an American actor in England, or either American or Canadian. I think he was American, and so he played a lot of Americans on BBC Radio, etc. So you can hear him in a lot of roles. For instance, when they did Philip Marlowe, I think he was the detective, or he was Philip Marlowe in Raymond Chandler's, the adaptations of Raymond Chandler's work. And also, if you look closely, Ed Bishop is in 2001: A Space Odyssey. He plays the captain of one of the ships going to the moon, and he talks to Haywood Floyd at one point, MOS silently. So it's really fun to kind of spot him there. So there you go.
Was it Green Hornet where they had the poor actor dangling from a rig like the Christmas ornaments?
No, Black Mantis. That was Black Mantis. Yeah, I wrote for that show. I think it was just called Mantis.
But with Space 1999 as one of his series, you've got a connection now in this ripple effect.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Exactly. So
you want to reveal who's in this episode? You just recorded yesterday.
Yeah, Barbara Bain from Space 1999 and Mission Impossible. She's now in the new Space Command episode, as is Neil deGrasse Tyson and tons of other great actors. So it's we're thrilled. So let's see. I guess we could go to Jeffrey Markle now. Jeff, if you want to chime in, go for it. There, great. Hello, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Well, I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm an actor here in LA. I'm doing well, staying safe and healthy, so I hope everyone else is.
Great.
I did have an interesting discussion with my agent today, who told me that submissions are increasing dramatically over the last week or so.
Great.
Requests for submissions. So a lot of Hollywood is talking about getting started back up in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Yes.
They're just really hammering out some protocols, some safety protocols.
As they should.
And and other actors, I don't know, beware. There's several. Probably everyone got this notice, but there's been companies that have been trying to get actors to sign, a release saying that if they get sick on set, and don't sign that.
Yeah,
that's not a good thing.
Right. Right.
And other than that, my cousin Megan and her husband Harry now live here in LA, and I'm still waiting for an invitation to their house. Be the Duchess. I still haven't been invited to dinner.
Hey, Jeff, what did you just do? You just did a pick up some ADR on something that's coming up. What was that?
Yeah, I'll be guest starring on the season finale of Black Monday.
Oh, great.
On Showtime, I believe it's July 19th.
Oh, great.
They added some dialogue, so I did an ADR session last week.
That's
my first work, and I actually went to a studio to do it. So it was interesting. Everything, all the arrows pointed to the studio. You park in the lot, the door opens automatically. You walk down the hallway, you go in, everything's set up.
Wow.
You do your thing. You leave, you wash your hands. The next person comes in from the parking lot.
Wow.
So it's a new world, but it seems to, we're going to move forward.
Yes, we are.
And for the inventive writers who are listening, since the radio said that they'd be opening up, but the only thing you couldn't have in your script are love scenes or fight scenes.
Yes.
For those of you who are very good at writing boring material, it's your moment.
The boring writers are going to have a field day. So yeah, exactly. So anything you need, Jeff?
I've known Jeff a long time, and just want to recommend that his website, jeffreymarkle.com, has some great clips, and he might have been on some shows and movies that you didn't realize he was in.
Wow.
Like he was recurring on Parks and Recreation and stuff like that. And he's a good cook. So
well,
there you go.
And all those wonderful clips that you see were, by the way, edited by none other than Dave Edison.
Yay! Well, that's great.
That's where I saw them.
Yeah, that's where you saw those.
You want a great recipe for overnight steel cut oatmeal? He's your guy.
Great. Well, yay.
The one thing I really do miss. Dave lives not far from me, so with the self-tape world, Dave comes over and we BS and knock a couple of scenes out, and I really do miss that. We've done a few with this new technology, but it's not the same. I'm anxious to get back to some kind of.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, 3 cheers, Jeff. Good to see you.
Take care.
So, Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, moving on to our next question, which is from Banankos. I hope I said that right.
Probably can't say it
How
wrong.
have you felt about the post-Serling Twilight Zone adaptations, including the upcoming new season later this month on CBS All Access, as well as Serling's Night Gallery?
Yeah, well, in the later incarnations of Twilight Zone, there's some good episodes, like the ones by Harlan Ellison and so forth, but I was disappointed by the newest version, and I saw some episodes that were okay, but nothing that was just brilliant. I'm not that looking forward really to the new season of the Twilight Zone. I think it really takes someone with a vision. It really takes someone who has something to say that's really important. You can fall into a trap of believing that those kind of stories are easy to write, and they're not. And so I think the worst thing you can go into that equation with is overconfidence. And I think that's what they've done. In terms of Night Gallery, Serling didn't run it, and he was very frustrated by it. And I go into that in the Twilight Zone Companion. He was not a happy camper. He wrote some very good scripts for Night Gallery, but he was not. It was not really his show. Surprisingly, well, not so surprisingly, Guillermo del Toro favors Night Gallery over Twilight Zone because of his aesthetic bent. He loved the monstrous, quality, the horror quality of it, and I certainly can understand that. So, but cool. So let's see. So I guess Mark Gushwitz, you're next. Go for it.
How are you doing?
Yay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're
I said,
great.
how are you doing? All I heard was,
What
answer that was.
We're great. We're great.
Good, but it's a little, our air conditioning is not top notch.
It's okay. It's okay. We're fine. Don't worry about it. But go ahead.
It's interesting that you just said what you said about Guillermo del Toro, because last Friday you said the same thing to us on our podcast.
Yes.
So So anyway, my name's Mark. I'm an editor. I've been pretty busy working for Yosemite, who I think just opened today. They got these videos they want me to do to put up on the internet to try and get, people heading up that way. Other than that, I'm just waiting for graphics for my zombie movie so I can finally lock it, because some of them I have a feeling I'm going to be adjusting cut points once I get them in, and then I can send them. Then I can send the sound, or I can send the final cut to Earl Smith, who's a table member, who's doing my sound and music.
Cool.
I am dealing with a nightmare of a podcast, not the one that I'm doing with Nathan, but the Talking Apes one. I'm starting to learn that my co-host over there is very resentful that I was leaving. As the latest cut of the last episode I was going to be on, he's actually editing it, and he literally edited me to look like a fool.
Wow.
So, but he can't put it up until I approve it. So
good.
We're spending a lot of hours dealing with that.
Yeah.
And then, the big thing right now is episode 1 of the new podcast, which we're calling the Screen Forum. We got the Facebook page up. We got the Twitter page up. I designed a logo for it, so I hope people like it. I designed a nice little graphic with Mark, because Mark's our first guest.
Cool.
I found a picture on the internet with you with this big Twilight Zone thing behind you.
Wow.
And then I incorporated that with pictures from both Rod Serling and Guillermo del Toro, because that's what he talks mostly about.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, if you go to the Screen Pod on Facebook, you'll see it.
Cool.
The other thing is I did want to ask your permission for something, because I would like to use some of the music from Space Command and maybe a scene or two from Space Command in the podcast.
You bet.
Before I went to,
of course.
Before I went to Dave, I thought it was proper to ask you.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely, of course.
And also, because we told you we weren't recording, I think Zoom might have been recording. You told this really great story, the Peter Jackson, Guillermo del Toro story, to just kind of tease everyone. If Zoom recorded that, I would, because we told you we weren't recording. I want it's okay for me to use that, right?
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm hoping, because that was one of my favorite things. So anyway, we did a great recording with Mark, everyone. So when the first episode is ready to go, I will let everybody know. It's very informative, and I look forward. I'm in the middle of editing it right now. Unfortunately, I'm working around a bunch of stuff. But that's pretty much what I'm spending my time doing right now.
Cool.
The coronavirus is, still out there. A lot of people are ignoring it now, but fortunately, it's now hitting close to home. I've had one person pass away so far, and my client up at Yosemite, the person I've been dealing with, she's going to be going to the doctor because she thinks she might have it.
Wow.
So don't think that it's not real. It's really out there.
Wow.
A lot of people are, yeah, it's not a big deal. I actually have been friends with someone who thinks it's not a big deal, and it's like, no, you gotta pay attention.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
That is me, Dave Edison, wherever he is. I'll be in touch to get what I just asked Mark about.
Great. Cheers.
It'll cost you.
Well, look at it this way. I feel like we'll be promoting Space Command with it.
Yes. Which is what we want.
Yeah. And I added a little voiceover to the intro for you, where I also promoted your YouTube channel.
That's great. Thank you so much. So, Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi?
Yeah, but before we go to our next Mr. Sci-Fi question, a quick shout out to Devin Slayton, who says, no question, just want to say thank you for your advice and sharing your experiences.
You're very welcome.
Moving on to our next question.
Yes.
This is from Susan Kimball, who asks, have you ever thought about or have you written for Doctor Who?
Neil Gaiman recommended me to Doctor Who as a writer, and nothing came of it, sadly, because it is a show that I would have wanted to take a swing at. It's a
fun show.
Yeah, I was a big fan of it when Tom Baker was the Doctor back in the 70s, but and I haven't been watching it regularly since it came back. I understand it's had its ups and downs. The problem with Doctor Who is similar to the problem with Star Trek, which is now they've done so many stories. I mean, Doctor Who debuted in 1963. I actually had a conversation. The actress who was in the first Doctor Who episode as the Doctor's niece, she's still with us, and I actually I was a guest at a Doctor Who convention a year or two back, and I actually talked to her about being in Space Command because I thought that would be very, very fun. And there are various friends of mine who know some of the actors from Doctor Who, and I would certainly be very open to them being in Space Command. But But in terms of me writing for Doctor Who, the amount of research I would have to do just to be able to come up with a story that would be fresh would be significant. So I'm not saying I won't do it, but it's not something that is immediately on the horizon. So, there you go. So I think Kevin Matthey, I guess you're next. Go for it.
All right. I hope you hear me now.
Yes.
I'm Kevin Matthey. I'm a composer, and it's nice to be back.
Yes.
Today, this past week, I've been taking your advice. And so I think you and Mark Agush was talking about how you stay productive last week.
Yes.
And we were saying take out. So I've been taking 2 things out of all my list of things to do.
Good.
2 things, and I accomplished those.
Great.
So I had a follow-up question to last week's question. So last week I was saying I wanted to get into. I was interested in animation, and you gave me some great, a great place to look, for that. But I was thinking this week also family films. It kind of going. There's animation and kids and family, but some of them are live. Is there a great place also for family films, or is it just kind of?
What I would suggest you do is start studying the family films that you like and seeing which companies are making them, which composers they might be hiring. I mean, there's not a group as such that I know of, but people tend to hire the same people over and over again, and there's certain companies that are very specifically family oriented, as there are certain networks like Lifetime, Hallmark Channel, those kind of things.
Right.
So you can do a little research, and that can help you zone in on these things. And again, people are still stuck at home; they're still ramping up, and this is a good time to reach out to people. So if there's family films you've liked and producers / production companies that are doing that work, you can contact them and see what happens. Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. I just I wanted to do that follow-up, and I'm just kind of hanging out in the studio, working on my demo.
Cool.
Reel.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay.
Thanks.
You bet. So, Adam, do we have another Space Command Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, our next question comes from Mark McMinn, who asks, where would the original Lost in Space have gone if they had stayed with the early serious tone?
Well, I don't know. It was never a great show. It was a distinctive show, and a show I liked before Star Trek came along, but it was really cheesy and really, Irwin Allen was not the great master of the deep and profound story. And the moment he saw the chemistry between Jonathan Harris and Bill Mumy, as Dr. Smith and Will Robinson, and the robot, of course, that was what was going to dominate the show from then on. Interestingly enough, they did a completely different pilot, and when you get the series on home video, you can actually watch that original pilot, which is not good because it doesn't have Dr. Smith, it doesn't have the robot, it's very boring. And so could they have made a better show? Well, it's interesting that the new version of Lost in Space actually is a better show. It's a better show that's less distinctive and less memorable. And so that's a very interesting paradox. But that's the truth. And so, it would have, to speculate how a show would have gone if it had gone a different way is sort of pointless in a way because it went the way it went. And it just got increasingly cheesy, increasingly stupid. The same thing happened with Voyage of the Bottom of the Sea as well. At one point, I think they had clowns on the submarine or some damn thing, werewolves, God knows.
Remember when I said the bed sheet?
Oh, yeah, well, there was a bed sheet where Lost in Space, there was a monster under a bed sheet. And I said, it's going to be great at the end when they pull the bed sheet off and there's a horrible monster. And Lane said, no, it's just going to be a bed sheet. And that's all you're ever going to see. And I said, oh, they wouldn't be that cheap. And that was the case. That's exactly how cheap they were. Usually, stupid ideas don't work, but every now and then they do. And one of the great examples of that is there's a terrific show called The Prisoner. And it's the original one, the one with Patrick McGowan that was shot in Wales at Port Merion, which we've stayed at. And it's a terrific show. If you've never seen it, hunt it down. It's on home, VOD platforms, but and on YouTube. But at one point they had this device, this sort of motorized robot remote control device that was supposed to like keep people from running away from the village, from escaping the village, and it didn't work. It never worked. And so they thought, hell, what are we going to do? And at the same time, there were some guys doing experiments with weather balloons nearby, and they basically just bought one of the weather balloons and they put in this creepy sound effect, and they had it press into people's faces and kind of suffocate them. And they called that Rover. And for the entire run of the show, that was the thing that stopped you from escaping from the village, and it was great. It really worked great. And it's funny because when we stayed in Port Marion years later, there was a big weather balloon there as a, you know, you could pose with, and we posed with it just before it popped. So we were the last people to be able to pose with that particular weather balloon by the ocean. So that was great. It was great. So let's see who's next. I guess Victoria's.
Can I just?
Oh, go ahead.
Can I just say?
Yes, Paul.
In Port Marion, it's still a big tourist attraction.
Yes.
And that is like 30, 40 years on.
Yes, it's spectacular to stay at. Whether or not you're a prisoner fan, this is actually a strange little village that an architect started, and he would find buildings, particularly throughout Europe, that were about to be destroyed. These little eccentric, strange buildings, and he would bring them to Port Marion. He would disassemble them and reassemble them at Port Marion.
He would take architectural
bits and pieces
that were beautiful to him.
It's like if William Randolph Hearst had taste. And you know, it's just this amazing conglomeration of wonderful places, and the prisoner had the brilliance to shoot there and turn it toward their purposes, and it was wonderful to stay there. It was a great experience. I loved it. So
there's an awful lot of videos on it on Port Marion itself and the way it's going now.
Yeah, that's great.
And if you like Lotus Sevens, they're perfect.
Yeah. So great. So Victoria, let's take you and go for it.
So I'm an actress, sketch artist.
Cool.
So I've been creating my own stuff right now because there isn't much out there right now to do. And so I've been sharing it to the table and trying to get it out there on like social media.
Great.
But that's the only thing I could think of to do with it. One question I do have, because you said to reach out to people because this is the time to do so. What would you suggest an actress to do if she wants to reach out to like producers and directors of TV shows she wants to be on at this point, but not be like too pressing? Kind of feel like, you know, I want to do it the proper way.
The real trick with any of this stuff is gaining a rapport with the people you want to hire you. And so the conversation can never be the obvious one. If the conversation is, I'm an actor, I'd like you to hire me, that's the obvious conversation, and everyone says that to them. And so there's no reason for them to bring special attention to you. And that's true of every walk of life, every career pursuit. You know, I'm a writer, I'd like you to buy my script. You know, it's like, okay, fine, you know, where's the security to tase me? You know, but you know, so that's why I'm so in favor of podcasts and doing documentaries and writing books about subjects you're interested in, because it changes the equation. And so, for instance, if you are doing sketch comedy and there are certain producers you want to connect with, you know, you could say, I'm doing a podcast and I'd love to interview you. And, you know, and because again, it changes. People love to talk about their careers. They love to talk about what they've discovered along the way. And they'll be more likely to say yes to a podcast, particularly if you have any friends who are well known and you start with them, because then that legitimizes the podcast. So if let's say you were friends with, you know, Jim Carrey, and you do the Jim Carrey interview, it's like, okay, fine, cool. You know, and, you know, whatever works.
Or if there's something you have to offer them, as an example, let's say that you know they were interested in a show having to do with the frontline hospital people, right?
Yeah.
And you knew a couple, and you just said, "Hi, I'm an actor, and I'm very excited about your new show." But the reason I'm calling, is that there are a couple of people. If you want to talk to them for research, they did this amazing thing and that amazing thing.
But it's
so
tricky.
if there's anything that you have to offer in terms of what they're thinking or doing,
right?
That's, you know, you just say, I'm an actor, but I've got this resource. That can also be helpful because you've got something to give them.
Yes, but the tricky part is when you then switch over from helping them to like, now it's my turn, I want you to cast me.
No,
it's
no,
like,
but that's why you start out by saying, I'm an actor, I'd love to be. You start out with that, you know, diffuse it, but then you go into what you might have to offer in terms of experience or people you know.
Yes. But see, the trick is that if you do a podcast or if you do anything that's where they start to become interested in you, because if you're talking about like comedy or sketches or whatever your specific area of interest is, with them. And you say, okay, let's say that someone was starting out or someone wanted to get cast in these kind of shows, or how, what are the ways that work that the people generally might not know? And you can basically find out from people. Like, for instance, it's fascinating that when Rod Serling created The Twilight Zone, initially he threw open the doors to unsolicited submissions. They got 5,000 scripts sent them, and they read 500 of them, and none of them were any good or usable. And so he then just called Ray Bradbury and said, help me. I don't know what to do here. And Ray said, come on over, and basically said, here's 4 writers you should hire. And one was John Collier, one was Charles Beaumont, one was Richard Matheson, and one was Bradbury himself. And ultimately, the core of his writing team became 2 of those 4 writers, and one more of Bradbury's proteges. So again, had you back then said, well, how did those guys become the primary writers on Twilight Zone? It was because they had laid the track of relationship that led to that opportunity. And they also had the goods, of course. So, because there's 2 ways that actors can get cast. One is that they fit a role that the producer, director, writer has already. But the other is when you get to know producers, writers, directors, if they really like you and like your talents, they start creating roles for you. And I've done that a lot. I mean, with Doug Jones and with Bob Picardo and with Mira Furlan and all these actors I've been working with, I created roles specifically for them. And that's really fun. And I've done that for actors who are not well known as well. And but the trick is you have to find the way to crack open the door that isn't, the moment you're saying what everyone else is saying, you're invisible. And so that's the trick. Now, that doesn't mean that, let's say you were born in Waukegan, Illinois, and one of these producers was born in Waukegan, and you send him an email saying, Waukegan girl wants your advice. He'll probably answer that because you're both from Waukegan, but so commonality, something common in your background. Now, I have a club foot and this guy has a club foot too, whatever it is, anything. And that can work as well, but it's just finding the way in, and it usually deals with their need rather than yours. Okay. So now sometimes you can do some piece of work that gets on the internet and goes viral, and that way, you're known. Like Tom Katzis did a job interview with a millennial that went viral. It's been seen, I think, by everyone on this planet and Alpha Centauri. And producers would start saying, "Oh, I know you. I recognize you. Yeah, you're great. Let's have you and let's hire you." And that did work. So that's some of it. So other questions, Victoria? Anything else you need?
No, that's it.
Okay, yay! I know. Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, our next question. A good one from Mac Raven, who asks, what book did you enjoy as much as Martian Chronicles?
I love The Lost World by Arthur Conan Doyle. I love The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Those are some of my favorites. Gosh, what else? Tons of stuff. I mean, I just, Huckleberry Finn is a book that I love. I've gotten into what is it? The Great Gatsby recently. I'm really enjoying that in various incarnations. To Kill a Mockingbird is a huge favorite of mine, both the book and the movie. So it's basically various things that just kind of spoke to me. I love Have Spacesuit Will Travel by Heinlein. It's wonderful. Many things. That's some of it. That's a short list. So I guess the next person is Michelle Hart. Go for it, Michelle.
Am I on mute?
Yes,
music?
We can hear you.
Okay. Well, let's see. I don't remember what day it was. I think it's either Monday or Tuesday. SAG-AFTRA did a big webinar about voiceover work.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And, they had a number of people talking, 2 of whom made great quantities of sense, and the third one spoke a great deal in acronyms, and I got to the point where the host of the show actually said, "I think some of us are getting lost in the weeds here."
Uh-huh.
But there was a lot of very useful information that came out. I will be attempting to construct a studio in my apartment, which is going to be interesting.
Cool.
And fortunately, I tend to be a night person, which is great because it's deader than the doornail where I live at night. At the daytime, I don't know, somehow, no matter what day it is, it's either trash trucks or gardeners or construction or a combination of all of them. So night is going to be wonderful. I have a big thanks to Howard Benjamin, who I called on the phone to clarify some of the garbage that I heard, because I couldn't even make sense of my own notes on some of it after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just eminently practical, including something like, saying for the filter that takes it, the pop filter, he said, get a wire hanger and some pantyhose and a pair of pliers.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! That's my kind of construction work. So I did that. I have just recently finished rereading The Demolished Man. That's the book, Alfred Heston's book, that I had loved years ago, and I started to reread it, and the paperback was so old that it was literally disintegrating. And I finally said, I'm going to use 2 rolls of Scotch tape to put this thing together. It's still going to fall apart. And I bought a hardcover on the internet. And just discovered that, and there's a lot of them out there, discovered that although I did not remember the story as well as I only remembered fractions of it.
Yes.
But apparently I had very good taste way back then when I read it first, because I thought it was really terrific.
Great.
Let's see. Interesting to know, and I'm sure you guys have heard about it too, that Disney got a hold of the name Space Force before our federal government did. They've got the trademark on
That's
it.
funny.
You mean Netflix,
You mean
right?
Netflix.
Huh. Wow.
You mean Netflix, not Disney.
I thought it was Disney, but I could be mistaken. Whoever it is, it ain't the government.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
I am perfectly okay with no love scenes, no fight scenes. I'm not in an age demographic that would make it likely that someone would ask me to do a love scene. And I don't think I'd be likely to be asked for a fight scene, although I did have to slap somebody on General Hospital. Not only because I was a spy, I was a very villainous spy.
Great.
Please don't know why there were spies in General Hospital. It's too passive the imagination. I don't think I ever mentioned to this group that I actually was in a night gallery segment.
Really?
I was in half.
Cool.
And, playing an actress, and I was very recently, there was a big showing in Pasadena of a collection of the paintings, the original paintings from Night Gallery.
Yes.
And asked to be an honored guest there. So being an honored guest.
That was great.
And they also asked me to be on an interview panel at the end of the series of showings of these paintings. And unfortunately, very little that I could say about it, because it's a really long time ago. I think I was 17.
Wow. Amazing. That's
way
great.
back there, but I've got night gallery cred.
Yay, that's fun.
I think I was making notes here as I was talking. That's kind of all I've got to say.
Okay, well, 3 cheers. Yay. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. No, our next question is from The Magical World. And I want to know this too. What did you think about the miniseries Hollywood on Netflix?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, Elaine and I just watched the documentary that it was inspired by, which was about Scotty, who owned a gas station in the golden age of Hollywood after the war, World War II. He was he fought in the war, and he set the stars up and the directors up with various sexual partners, and this guy lived it to 98, and he's an amazing guy. And it was on Canopy, and I didn't expect to like it, and I actually did. He was very charming and very interesting, and it's quite a documentary. So I will watch that show, but I don't know if I'll like it. It's hard to tell. It's I'm busy making TV, for God's sake.
But to watch the thing, the man himself was like really remarkable, because when he said, "I just want to make people happy," and you believed him.
Yes.
Because he took very little money for himself in terms of what he was doing to set people up, and he had no judgment whatsoever about any kind of sexuality. He had
Yeah.
no judgment, and
Yeah.
so he set up anybody without any kind of sleazy feel. It was all just have some fun with sex.
Yeah.
And so it was ended up being
it was
really upbeat.
It was really interesting. Yeah, it was really interesting. But so we'll find out. We'll see.
Yeah.
So let's see. So
I've seen it and I highly recommend it.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Terrific.
Yeah.
So
it's a good documentary.
Okay. Oh, the documentary. Yeah. So Kushik, you're up. Go for it.
Hi guys, my name is Kaushik, and I'm a comedic writer and actor, and I'm starting to direct as well right now.
Great.
I'm in a LSEC filmmaking class, and my class completely went into online due to the lockdown, so I had to drop out. But I'm gonna join back in the fall. But it will still be online, but at least I will have the option of going out and shooting films, which I could not last 3 months. During the lockdown period, I was completely at home, and I made a commercial parody. I made a short film from home, quarantine short film. I wrote a feature film script on coronavirus, sci-fi comedy. And right now I'm writing a stage play on coronavirus.
Okay, cool. So
that's what I was doing last 3 months.
Busy boy.
So is there anything you need?
No.
Okay.
Just happy to be here.
Great. Good to see you.
Congratulations on all the work. That's
Yay.
great.
Thank you.
So Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, and I should mention I was in one of Kushik's short films, which is going to be on the Burbank Film Festival. Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
I submitted it.
I will hunt you for your French fries.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it on there. So our next question is from Mark Lungo again, who asks, would you consider submitting Knife Through the Veil to Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone?
I could, I suppose. I think they're mainly writing stuff in-house. I don't know if they're open to submissions, but it's, I'm not averse to that. I just don't think God knows. At this stage in my career, I'm just making stuff. It's like I have very little interest in trying to batter down those doors. It's like eventually I'll get around to making Knife Through the Veil. But we'll see. I have actually integrated it into a project called Rod Serling's After Twilight that I've been talking to the Twilight the Serling family about, and we'll see where that leads. You never know. You never know. But I wouldn't be averse to that. I just don't particularly feel like working too hard to get them to consider it. So okay, so David Bartlett, you're up. Okay. Is it not working? Funny. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Now we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker and a teacher and a human rights activist and the co-producer of Space Command.
Yay!
Also the producer of Ripple Effect. I'm in charge of all the crowdfunding perks and quite a few other things on Space Command, visual effects and whatnot.
Yes.
We have been focusing. We're doing Ripple Effect coronavirus episode, which is now almost 2 hours long. We are posting that and getting ready for the Space Command. That's exciting what you're doing, Mark. It's really doing wonderful things to your image there. The lighting.
It's funny.
So we're also doing the Space Command convention on the 28th. So we're getting Ripple Effect ready for that. We're thinking about putting on the radio play for that convention too.
Talk about it.
And I have also spent a lot of effort recently in a concentrated manner to expand on the studio. So the studio is getting ready to actually film something. It's an area that's building sets. It's an area that is storing sets, restoring sets that have been used from before that have been damaged or whatever. Now we're bringing them back to life again and creating a new environment to film in for several purposes. We're going to do a test of all the fogs that exist the different kinds of lighting that's happening in the alien ship environment that's happening, which Elaine has dubbed the haunted house section of Space Command Forgiveness, which is coming up here in the 2-3 months. We're going to shoot that. And we have a little scene we're going to shoot from the Paladin Bridge that was that we didn't quite finish before, where the reactions of Ryan Husk and Dallas Malloy are, while the ship's under fire and in flames and being damaged, we're going to shoot that too. So we've got a lot going on. I was a little late tonight because I was coming back from the studio, and I-5 decided to have a typical amount of traffic. So the coronavirus is definitely freeing things up on the freeways. That's kind of it. I mean, if anybody wants to participate, we have a COVID-friendly environment. We keep our distancing as best we can. We wear masks and gloves and whatnot. You know, I don't wear as much as I should, I admit. But we are all with each other all the time. And I've been tested recently myself because I had my wonderful surgery finally, and that went super well, and it's going really well.
Great.
Health-wise in general, and you know, I'm just tired.
Yeah. Okay.
But besides that, I think we're okay. Now, if you want to volunteer to work on Space Command, or you want to have a paid job on Space Command, you can let me know at davefilms@hotmail.com, davefilms@hotmail.com, and I can get you hooked up with that, and we can go from there.
Okay. 3 cheers. Yay. Good job. So do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, another familiar question. As your little ones romp about, they, a question from Todd Chamberlain, who asks, "What are your puppers' names?"
It's Rudy and Eve. We adopted them. They're brother and sister. They're 2 years old, terriers, and we adopted them at Christmas. And the adoption place had named them Rudy after Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and Eve after Christmas Eve. And that's how they got their names. And they are inseparable, and they are and
insufferable.
Yes, and they are also in the new Space Command episode in a great scene with David Bartlett, where they will, I'm sure, become instant stars. So
if you ever want to,
where are they? Are they camera shy?
They're resting.
They're resting
Thank
because
God.
of the heat.
Yeah,
But you will see from David Bartlett's scene that if you ever want to hire an actor who is a good sport,
yes,
you will certainly want to go for David.
Yes, it's very, very fun. So cool. So let's see. Now the next person on my screen, I'm not seeing a name. It's how would you describe him?
Is it Mark?
I'm sorry, which? Let's see.
I think it would just Mark.
Mark. Okay. If there's a Mark
with the earbuds in.
Yeah. Is that you, Mark? So go for it. Yeah. Great.
No, it's William.
William. It's William. Oh well, no, there was.
Garcia.
Oh no, there was William. There was someone next to you. Mark. Yeah, there we go. Now I see. Now I see the name. So go for it, Mark. Take your turn. Make sure.
Hey.
Yeah, there you go.
Hello, everybody. Mark here from Nueva York.
Great.
And I was been out of the city for 3 months. Came back about 2 weeks ago. 2 days before the revolution kicked, and it's been quite a journey. And we are still planning to come out to LA. We decided to stay a little bit longer in New York City, but the original plan was months ago to come out for the summer because we don't like the New York heat, and in fact got a place in Venice, Abbot Kinney area, and then just going to pitch a couple of projects. And now things are very different. Who knows how long we're going to stay out there? But still looking to pitch. I've been working for a couple of years on a television series, and about the New York City underground culture that takes during the 90s, from like 93 2001, and had to do with the origins of the rave culture of the Williamsburg, kind of like how New York had its last major unobstructed hurrah before things started changing drastically. And what's so interesting about this project, and seen in reference to the protesting that's happening in the city, I mean, it just blows my mind that there's this real revolutionary sense. I didn't think it was going to happen again. So I feel very encouraged by it on many levels. And a couple of other projects I'm working on, but that's the main one that I've been focusing and sharing. And when I come out to LA, I love to meet as many people as possible, and hopefully the lockdown will be a little less lockdown.
Yes.
And,
Let's hope.
How is LA doing right now?
It's still under lockdown. I mean, they're starting to serve food in restaurants cautiously. People are still wearing masks and maintaining social distancing. It's still, I mean, we're not through the pandemic yet. It's still very much in at work in the ambiance,
Yeah, but they are. I mean, they're opening up a lot of things. They even say they'll be opening up theaters on Friday with social distancing.
Yes.
But the thing is that California is also one of the states that's spiking because they're doing that.
Yeah. So there you go. So is there anything you need, Mark?
I need money, but needing to meet people, showrunners and producers for the TV series, and we collated a list that we're starting to reach out to this week, using your advice about how to do it, and do a lot of research on each person that we're reaching out to.
Right.
And we spoke about this about a month ago, and I like the idea that you can send out 100 inquiries, and we just need one.
Yes.
Yes. One yes.
Yeah.
Really
and again, remember, you're looking for allies. You're looking for people who are going to be excited about what you want to do. And so, it's just a matter of getting in conversation with people, finding the way to crack it open. I mean, the one thing that's great now is that it used to be that you could only pitch pilots and only sell shows if you already had a very well-established career in television or in features. But now, because there's such an enormous number of series on the air and movies have now become all TV movies because there's no theaters showing movies now, that they're really open to considering stuff by anybody who's got, a foot in the door, basically, and that's good because they can't tell. They honestly cannot tell what's going to work and what's not going to work and what's going to be a success and what's not. And so they're very open to all sorts of possibilities, and that's a good thing. So,
yeah, I feel that with this project, that if I could just speak to or write or send a dialogue, that I could sell it. I'm very passionate about this, and I feel like, especially what's happening in New York, that there's almost like even more of a need to show this experience and people to see it. So it's just really about who's the right person, who's the right match, and how do I get that footage? And we're just setting cold calls and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So, Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah. Our next question, again, another one from Mark Lungo. A lot of Marks lately. So he asks, are there any kinds of aliens that you would not consider using in Space Command?
Yes. I generally, in terms of Space Command, I personally believe that when we encounter life on other planets, and I'm sure we will, it's going to be very, very, very different from us. And intelligent life, I mean, even what is the definition of intelligence? That becomes, are we talking technological, et cetera, et cetera? And so I'm not going to have like little pieces on the nose to be an alien or like, people with pointed ears. I mean, they're going to be very alien. They're going to, and that makes it, of course, more challenging and more expensive. But I'm not going to just have like some guy with, a funny kind of mustache saying he's like from, Rigel 6 or whatever. And, or paint someone green and that's like, they're aliens. Nah, that's not in the cards. So, okay, cool. So
would that like something from Arrival?
So yes. That's very much sort of in the, the idea. They're called aliens for a reason, and I think mostly aliens have been presented as humans with little teeny tiny changes, so because of budgetary constraints, particularly in television. But it's when you really think about it, it's pretty absurd. And in fact, on Star Trek, on one of the later incarnations of the show, they actually answer that question as to why humans and Klingons and Vulcans and Romulans all looked so similar, and it was because there had been a race that had sort of seeded the galaxy and with variants of themselves, and that's why every race was humanoid essentially, or most of them were. So that was at least an interesting attempt to cover the tracks. So William Garcia, now it is your turn. Yay!
Hi, how you doing, Mark?
Good.
Blaine?
Good.
You guys doing good?
Yeah.
David, you look great.
Yeah.
You're looking really great, David. And I'm looking forward to seeing your Christmas movie. So I know you're working on that Christmas film for Lifetime. Well, I'm William Garcia. I'm an independent producer based out of Los Angeles. Been in the industry for many, many years. I mean, the positive of COVID, I've been able to get a lot more work done. I don't spend 3 hours a day in traffic.
Yes.
You know, an hour and a half to the office, an hour and a half back home.
Yes.
So it's been a very interesting experience. I've been helping different filmmakers around the world with their projects, just giving them some advice. We've been having these Zoom meetings, so that's been a lot of fun. My feature film followed. That's an interesting turn of events. Originally, we were supposed to have about 200-300 screens released in April, but because of the whole COVID, the distribution company and all the theaters closed down. But now next week, we're going to have a grand opening nationwide and drive-in theaters. Mark, would you ever imagine people lining up going back to drive-in theaters?
Yeah. Amazing.
That's like amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. It's an independent, found footage horror movie. We're getting nationwide attention, and it's going to be very interesting, especially because the major studios are not releasing any movies, so they're just starving for content. So it's going to be really interesting on that. My other feature, Sam Land's in post-production, so we continue with that. So that's been pretty interesting. And then because of COVID and staying home and all the situation of what's going on with the unions, we're waiting now for the unions to officially release the guidelines in the white paper now that we can move forward, starting tomorrow, as I understand, but we still have to wait now for the DGA, SAG, and IA. What's been fascinating is some of the online film festivals events. I've been on Cannes. They're going to have an online event, and the amount of contacts that I've been able to it's just amazing of everyone that's online. So that's been really positive. So, just thanks everybody for sending me, some of your information. I know some of you need assistance with your projects. Just shoot me an email through the table, and I hope everyone's doing well.
Okay, thanks, William.
Thanks.
Great, yay. So, Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question.
Our next Mr. Sci-Fi question, another one from Mark Lungo, who asks, why didn't John Collier wind up writing for The Twilight Zone?
They basically adapted a story of his, so he was never directly writing scripts. It may have been that he was primarily a prose writer and not a script writer. In fact, the script that they did adapt had actually been done on a live TV show some years earlier, The Chaser. And so that was the reason. So he was never really in the running to be one of the major writers on the show. And also in terms of the kinds of stories he wrote, certainly Evening Primrose influenced the After Hours. Serling clearly read Collier, but beyond that, nah. So let's see. So now on my screen, the next person, it's the lady with the glasses, but I'm not seeing the name and I can't recall. So please go ahead. Hi, Karen.
Yeah, hi.
There you go.
How are you guys tonight?
We're good.
Thank you.
Good. I'm basically just on saying hi and listening. Just saying hi, Mark. Hi, Elaine. Hi,
Great.
Adam.
Cool.
I was just contacting with David on the contacts because I have a small production company and I have a lot of people who work for me, not all the time, but, who I hire on and off. A lot of, what I would call young people in their 20s and 30s, which, is getting a little sad that I think people in their 20s and 30s are young people now, but what can you do? That time goes by. But I have a lot of people who are not working right now. And so we would love to help with the sets for for Space Command. And I've got one guy particularly who's a great carpenter, who's done lots of on-set carpentry and other carpentry and has his own tools and can totally vouch that he would be great. And then I've got a lot of other people who would just love to probably come in and paint. So I'm in touch with David, and we'll try to make that happen.
Thanks.
And we would just love to be a part of this project because any way that I can support you guys, I would love to do it. You give so much to the community.
Great. Well, thank you, Karen.
Now's the perfect time for people to paint.
Yes.
This is an excellent painting moment right now. There's a lot of painting.
Yes, that's great.
I need people.
Well, I know lots of people who love to paint. So I'll be in touch.
Well, thank you, Karen. That's really appreciated. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, our next question is from Mr. Sci-Fi listener Scott Baker, not our Space Command cameraman Scott Baker, who asks, would it not fit perfectly with quarantine to have characters in small spaceships, possibly fighting or better to be exploring, talking to each other on their communication screens?
Yes.
I think we have that in Ripple Effect, right?
To some limited extent, but I didn't want to do the obvious, and so the whole goal in Ripple Effect was the notion of getting to know a number of characters who were going to be in the later part of the season, in addition to ones we'd already seen, and to have a wide variety of ways that we're showing them. So some characters are in scenes together via visual effects. Some characters are talking to each other. Some characters are recording in their private diaries. Some characters are, there's just a ton of different ways we've done it. So I didn't want it just to be, okay, everyone's in their own little cubicle talking to each other. And of course, I didn't want to have to rely enormously on visual effects because I use some visual effect shots, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money on this episode because I wanted to be able to take the money we had and utilize it in post-production on the 2 hours we've shot and on prep on the hour we're about to shoot. So I didn't want it to drain those needs, so that was part of it too. So that's some of the answers. So let's see, Gino, I guess you're next. Go for it.
Oh, wow. Wasn't expecting to be called this early. Taking another call to get on. How's everybody?
Good.
Okay, hi, Gino. Actor, filmmaker, and comedian. I've had 3 virtual comedy shows that have gone really, really great. And I'll be able to send those out to everybody. Hopefully, would be interested in taking a look at it. And also, putting them out there on my.
Hold on, Gino.
Oh, Gino.
For one moment, we're getting a lot of
distortion.
Does anyone know why we might be getting a distortion from that end? We're having trouble
understanding. Yeah, his microphone is turned up too loud on the end where the microphone is. Are you talking too close to the mic? One of the two. The microphone is overdriving. It's distorting on his end.
Is this better right here?
No. What kind of microphone do you have? Is it attached to the computer?
No, it's the computer mic. But I think this would. Let me try this.
Okay, great.
Can you talk softer or move to another county?
Jesus.
I go to another country, maybe that'll be better.
Gino, talk softer? I don't know.
Okay, let's see what we get.
How's this, folks?
Yeah, it's better, I think.
Much better.
There.
All right, great. Thanks for telling me, so I keep this in mind for other meetings. Okay, I was saying, Gino.
Gino, though, that's better, but move it away from your mouth now. So it's not right on your mouth.
Okay, I just did that right before you said that.
That's much better.
No, that's great. We got you. We got you.
Great engineering operation, folks. I appreciate it. Okay, so Gino, filmmaker, comedian. I've done 3 virtual shows these last 3 weeks, and they rocked. And I'll put those out there on an email. Hopefully, you guys would like to take a look at it. Love to get a little feedback from as many people as I can. And I'll put it out there on my Facebook and Instagram. This will be my first time doing that. Moving into, let's say, self-marketing and being okay with it. And I had other ideas coming in, but I didn't take notes. But one thing that I do remember, Mark, is, am I still distorted?
Oh, no, we can hear you. You're fine.
good.
You're fine.
Good.
Go for it.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, go for it.
Great. I've had ideas in the past about, I'd like to make you features about some of the Twilight Zone episodes. Yeah, the main one that's been on my mind has been
The Big Tall Wish. Is it the one with Ivan Dixon, or which one is it?
The one, well, Death's Head Revisited.
Oh, that one. Yeah, it's a great episode.
Yeah, and also, dang, I can't believe I can't remember the name. It was with the well, they're pretty much a lot of them are comeuppance.
Yes.
The guy that's on the British freighter,
yeah,
in the Atlantic.
Judgment Night. Yeah, Nehemiah Persoff. Yeah, you bet. Well, those are good episodes. Those are both written by Serling. But the challenge is that the rights to those stories was kind of split between CBS and the Rod Serling estate. So it's really better to do something that's kind of like inspired by that, but not a direct adaptation of it. So in other words, no one has a legal lock on like a haunted concentration camp, for instance, or on a haunted ship in World War II or whatever. I mean, in other words, one could utilize the basics without it literally being that story. But again, but trying to acquire a Twilight Zone story and make it into a feature, that's going to be costly. That's going to be expensive. So that's the problem with it. So so go ahead.
That's what I thought would be the case.
Yeah.
But just to get a ballpark as I go forward for other situations like that.
Yeah. I mean,
would we be talking about millions or high sixes?
Probably hundreds of thousands. Probably hundreds of thousands.
If you'll excuse me for just about 20 minutes.
Elaine has to walk the dogs. They finally kind of
woke up.
The penny dropped. Hi, cutie.
They woke up, but
so
they're recently groomed, so they're beauteous.
Yeah, they're very. We got our haircuts done and they got theirs.
Okay. Come on, guys.
So, but yeah, it's if for anyone starting out, unless you know people personally, it's very difficult to acquire rights to a successful literary or TV or cinematic property. It's not impossible, but it is challenging. So I mean, people have been trying for years to make a film about Rod Serling, about his life, and no one has succeeded at getting that made. Which is probably just as well, frankly. But there are many films and TV shows that are ripoffs of Twilight Zone. God knows. I mean, or in the genre of a Twilight Zone kind of story, from E.T. to Donnie Darko to you name it. I mean, tons and tons. Signs, plenty. It's a whole subgenre basically of features that are sort of Twilight Zone kind of stories. Field of Dreams is another one, but that's as maybe. So other questions? Anything else you need?
Nothing else.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cheers! Yay! So now it's a question, Mr. Sci-Fi question. Anything you want to know?
Yeah. We're actually starting to get caught up, which is great.
Good.
But we do have a question from Ziggy.
Okay.
Who asks, do you know if there's any chance of Farscape coming back?
Yes. There's been talk of it as a feature, and possibly as a TV series, but nothing concrete yet. Nothing concrete. But yes, there are lots of people who'd like to see that happen.
And you would know because you know the showrunner.
Yeah, of course. Rockney O'Bannon is a pal, and I'm creating a show with him. So great. So let's see. So Bonnie Janowski, you're next. Go for it.
Okay. Hi, everybody. And I've really been enjoying also William Garcia's events on the Fridays. So great. And I know last week there was a lot of talk about, of course, production resuming. I know I'm on the Musicians Union Local 47 board, and a lot of talk about that. Last Friday they had a town hall, and so wow, a lot of it's interesting because people want to go back to work, but it's kind of scary to be in a full room with the full orchestra and all. So I know, as with the other unions, a lot of talk going on of how to do that safely. But I'm a composer, and so I do musical theater, film, some TV, a lot of jazz, big band jazz. So I mentioned I've been working on big band writing again and want to do that again. And gradually, slowly getting into updating my website and just kind of any music questions, then let me know and I'll just put my website and contact in the chat. And thanks. Thank you, Mark and Elaine.
Okay, well, great. 3 cheers. Yay. See, the main thing is, the main challenge with resuming production and all of this is that there's no treatment, there's no cure, there's no inoculation. There are financial reasons and certainly emotional reasons to want to get back together and get things moving again. But realistically, nothing has changed in terms of the disease itself and the dangers of the disease itself. So one still has to be extremely careful. And I mean, as David mentioned with Space Command, we only have 1 or 2 people working together at most, or we socially distance, we do masks, all of that. We're being very careful, and certainly with the new episode, you know, we had everyone shooting in their own homes with their own cameras. So, you know, and you know, so I would urge everyone to really be cautious, particularly if you're of a certain age, because one seems to be more vulnerable at, you know, if one is upwards of, say, you know, 60. You know, but it's just be mindful that although there's enormous, you know, momentum toward getting things going again, that's not the same as that it's safe. You know, just to let everyone remember that. So, okay, let's see. I guess Earl, go for it. You're next, I think. Are you there, Earl? Uh-oh, I'm not seeing Earl. Oh, there we go. There you go. Hi, Earl.
I'm just moving a little slow.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, everybody. Earl F. Smith, composer, sound designer. I work with Gino and also Mark. Also here, I'm working on his film.
Yeah.
Here shortly. So green screen. I bought a green screen.
Oh, cool.
It should be here tomorrow. So
Great.
Saturday all day, I guess I'll be shooting my daughter and sending that over.
Great. Cool.
Mark Edison, I guess I should run by you to make sure I'm catching correct image.
Yes.
Then I spoke with David Bartlett the other day. We had a great talk. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
I've got a couple of film projects that I'm working on, and I have been dabbling with the idea of starting to produce.
Cool.
And one thing is I've been working on a lot of projects, but it seems to always be sound and music is never fully thought about.
Yes,
and
that's common.
Because I'm a musician, because I'm a sound guy, I understand the importance of that, or the importance of music portraying the emotion of the scene.
Yes.
So for that fact, I'm thinking about producing, getting with other people who have desire to direct and finding scripts and so forth.
Sure. I mean,
start with
again, the challenge is always, you're always going to be vulnerable to the whims of others if they're in power and you're not. And the way you gain power is by taking power and working harder. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, and building the team and making sure that you have what you need to advance to where you want to go. It's, you know, it's the eternal trade-off. But the great part is that there are people, I mean, you know, there was a guy who had been a hairdresser and he ended up running a studio. There were, you know, people come from all disciplines, from all walks of life, from everything. And it's just kind of how determined they are more than anything else. Persistence and determination is what wins the day. And, you know, so yeah, absolutely. So if you say, okay, what's the most direct route to where I want to go and how do I make that happen? You know, that's the name of the game.
There's something you said to me a few years ago that has really rung a strong bell in my ear or in my head. And that is, you know, Earl, you do all these different things, but what is it that you really love to do? What is that one thing? You can do all these things and be okay,
right?
But you need to find something to be great at that one thing. And So looking back, my main desire in the beginning to get involved in anything entertainment was to be doing music. And so I so happened to start doing other things. And then so it had popped the question, well, how do I display the music at the level it needs to be to get to that step where I need to get? And I'm realizing that may involve me producing some things, to have things in order so they are at the level they need. So the music is at the level it needs to be.
Well, here's the trick of it all. I mean, and this is what I've spent a career doing. It's very important, as you mentioned, to differentiate between what you're good at doing and what you actually love doing. Those can be two very different things. And if you're not careful, your life can be eaten up with all the things you're good at doing that serve other people's needs but not your own. And particularly if it pays you a living wage, that can even be more challenging, because again, there has to be, if you're never going to get your dream if you don't show up for it, if you're not the prime person advocating for it and really, really meaning it. And, you know, that's again why I had to give up artwork to get good at writing. It's like I put in the time, I put in the effort, you know, and everyone knows now, of course, anyone who works with me knows that I'm the prime driver on everything I do. You know, I'm, you know, if I stop, it stops. And you know, Dave and David Bartlett and all of you wonderful people who've been helping me, you know, you're vital, but I'm very aware of what my role is in this whole thing. But also another key point of any successful career in the industry is building your team. It's the people who get what you're doing, who are on your wavelength artistically, and who are totally reliable, who are not going to flake, who are not going to fuck it up, who are not idiots or morons or have problems that make everything harder. And so a lot of what I've done over my entire career is build teams. And I have the people who are sort of like my group, you know, and like once I found Dave Edison, he wasn't going to go anywhere. It was like a Venus flytrap enclosing him, you know, and you know, but the point being that, you know, Rockney O'Bannon and all these people that I know, it's not that I decided, it's like I've built those relationships, and the way that I've gained those relationships is again by doing the work, by having them come to regard the quality of the work that I do. And so what we're doing is we build the relationships, we build the alliances, we build the friendships, but also a lot of it is doing a quality of work that makes us visible to the people in the audience, and also to the people who might hire us or might collaborate with us or might team with us. You know, and that, like, if I hadn't written The Twilight Zone Companion, I never would have written a book with Guillermo del Toro, because he wouldn't have been convinced that I was the right guy. But because of that, and because we were both nominated for the Hugo and the Nebula Awards at the same time, and because my artist Ian McCaig was working for the publisher that was looking for a co-writer for Guillermo, and Ian recommended me, all of these things came to fruition. It was like a set of circumstances that kind of led to me writing a book with Guillermo. And I was also clear on my reason for doing that, simply to learn more than anything else. I mean, obviously, if I ever end up writing a book, I'm writing a movie or a TV show with Guillermo, that'd be terrific. But the first priority, the first objective in my doing it was to learn from him. And I succeeded greatly at that. So anything else you need, Earl? Any other questions?
No, I mean, that's it. And I mean, I agree with you totally, because I've been connecting with Mark, and I'm going to work on his film, and I'll be composing. And then, you know, I spent my time under David Bartlett, and we, you know, developed a friendship there, and just within the whole table. I'm glad to have the table. But yeah, just as you said, just recognizing who wants to do what, and maybe I take on that leadership role, which is natural, but to have that focus. I love doing music.
Well, the moment you take responsibility, the moment you say it's up to me, it totally changes things. And but also, you know, the reason I created the table, and the reason I've been running it all these years, 27 years, is because I wanted a place where we could be authentic, where we could be supportive of each other, where we could ask the questions that you can't generally ask out in the professional arena, because you don't want them to, you know, you don't want to be exposed for not knowing what you're doing, you know. And I don't mean you specifically, Earl, I mean any of us. And I wanted a place that was a community. And that's why we've never charged dues. That's why it's not an organization, it's a community. And I very strongly believe in that. Just like they used to talk about being a good citizen. And you don't hear that anymore. People are consumers. But we need to be good citizens. We need to be good members of our community. And by community, that's, of course, our entire artistic world. you know, but the table, you know, is a wonderful place for all of us to gather. And Zoom, you know, see, it's funny because a lot of people feel the pandemic has been a negative. For me, in many ways, it's been a great positive. For the table now, we have people in, you know, various places becoming part of it, and then we also have, you know, I was able to do this new episode of Space Command. So anything else for now, Earl? Anything else you need?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, yay, Earl. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we've got another question from Scott Baker, who asks, are you familiar with how Max Headroom evolved from an idea for a music video show to an imaginative sci-fi film turned into a series to promote the original music video show?
I don't know the specific ins and outs of that, but if you look at the credits, the writing producing credits of most of the major science fiction shows of the 80s and 90s, you'll see the same names pop up over and over and over again. And one of those names was Michael Cassett. He started as an executive at CBS overseeing the animation shows, which is where I first met him and became friends with him. And then he switched over to being a writer and worked on many, many shows, including the new Twilight Zone, including Max Headroom, Erie, Indiana, etc. And he's still in the game. I mean, he's still writing books and TV shows. And but that's that. So that was artistically what happened. And you'll often see people connect up working on a show, and then you'll see them working together down the years. So Michael Cassett is definitely someone I know who was very talented, who was part of what made that show work. So let's see. Now I think Sheila Atchison, are you there, or are you there? Nope. I don't see you, Sheila. So how about Beta? Are you there? Oh, Beta, are you there?
Yes,
there
I'm
you go.
Here.
Great.
I'm gonna start a video in a second.
Great.
Hi.
Hi, there you are.
It's not working anymore on my laptop for some reason, so we had to do something else.
That's fine. That's fine.
But hi, my name is Beta. I'm an actress. I'm Persian, but I was born and raised in Austria, and I moved here to the US to pursue acting, and I got a BFA at the New York Film Academy for acting for film. And I'm now on my OPT, which is like before my O1 visa kind of a thing. So after school, you get to work for a year in the field that you study, or like in something related to it. So I'm working on Space Command. I'm David Bartlett's assistant. And yeah, it's been great. We've been at the studio now pretty much all the time. And we have a new member, Sabrina.
Oh, cool. Hi. Hi, good to see you.
My name is Sabrina. I'm from Bolivia. I'm new to the Space Command team.
Great.
I am in the crowd fulfilling department. I started working about a week ago. And yeah, I'm in a like pretty similar to Vita. I came in as a student. Right now I'm in my OPT. And yeah, happy to join the table.
Great. That's great. Well, welcome. So is there anything either of you need right now?
As of now, no. Pretty much busy with Space Command and just getting to know everybody.
Great. Well, welcome. 3 cheers.
Yay.
So is there another Space Command Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. And also shout out to Veda and whom I've been working with as well. My co-workers, if you will. So we have another question from Scott Baker, who asks, do you think a remake of Fantastic Planet would work today?
Yeah.
Forbidden Planet too, I suppose, but that French cartoon is a favorite of mine.
They've been trying for years to make a new version or a sequel of Forbidden Planet, unsuccessfully. The original film is so great. You see a lot of bits and pieces of it crop up in things like Babylon 5 and even Space Command. But no, and if you haven't seen Forbidden Planet, it's a great film, a big budget MGM science fiction space going movie from the 1950s. It really was. It was highly influential on Star Trek. Let's see. So, and then in terms of Fantastic Planet, I haven't seen that since it came out. I assume you could make a new version of it, but I don't remember it clearly enough to really remember the plot very well. I just remember the big blue guy. That's about
What
it.
do we have from Forbidden Planet?
What? I'm sorry, Dave?
What do we have in Space Command from Forbidden Planet?
The whole notion of the Krell, an ancient race that kind of left things behind where you don't know what they look like, but you see what they built, what they made. You know.
Well, not a prop.
No,
Costume.
not yet. And but also Altair 4. There's a reference to Altair 4 in Space Command, and that was the planet, of course, in Forbidden Planet. But I did interview Anne Francis for the Twilight Zone Companion. She starred in Forbidden Planet, and she was quite just an amazing woman, just really impressive, and I'm so glad I got to meet her. That was terrific. So let's see. So I guess Sheila Marie Shostak, are you there? Oh, I'm not seeing her sign in. Nope, I'm not seeing it. Oh, sorry, guys. Lisa, are you there? I see a chair, but no person.
Sorry.
Okay, so is that you, Sheila? Are you there?
That's me.
Oh, good.
Hi.
Okay, well, yeah. So introduce yourself. Go for it.
My name is Sheila Marie Shostak. I used to work with Dave Edison.
Oh, good.
I am a producer, former actor, and I work with two teams. I work with Majama. We have a sci-fi movie called Bad CGI Sharks that's out right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually do have a question about that.
Sure.
Since it's almost Shark Week, we're trying to figure out how to get it to whoever needs to get it to show it.
So you mean, are you looking for networks or viewers, or what specifically?
Like on Discovery?
Yes. It's already out. It's on DVD. It's on Tubi for free streaming.
Right.
The DVD's out and all that. It's just
It's a little tricky if you've released it on free streaming, because that devalues the property. You could reach out to the acquisitions executives at networks such as Discovery Network or Discover Network or any of the others that would make sense. But once you release something online where people don't have to pay for it, that's very difficult then to sell it. So that's a challenge. That definitely is a challenge.
Okay. Thank you. I figured as much, but worth a try. All right. Thank you.
But again, there's no harm in reaching out to that person and seeing, because there's always, exceptions to the rules.
But you could use it as a wonderful sample if you get big numbers, or if you say to get like money for your next ones, because you're a proven entity and you've got something out there and you've got people interested, and so you might do it as a pitch for your next project.
Yeah.
It's been well reviewed. It's got some good notices.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Well,
so money for your next. So you don't have money for this, but money for your next would probably be pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
But the question.
Yeah, and we just made it into the Paris Shark Fest.
Oh, good.
Great.
Good. I mean, the question with anything that you do artistically is, what do you want to have happen, and be very specific about that, and that can help guide you in the order in which you do things. Obviously, if you're trying to build audience, then releasing stuff free makes sense, like what I've done with the first hour of Space Command. But again, one has to be very strategic in terms of how one puts content out there to make sure that it has the maximum advantage for you.
But if you have a site for that and you say, look, it's getting a lot of viewings and here are the great reviews and blah, blah, blah. And, if you'd like to step in and start pitching your next project, your timing might be very good.
Yes, exactly.
That is exactly what we were hoping for. So thank you. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Great. Terrific. Well, 3 cheers.
You.
Yay. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
There we go. Yes, another question from Mark Lungo. I'm just going to have you pick one of these because he lists off several different shows. Any thoughts on Alfred Hitchcock Presents, One Step Beyond, Thriller, or Way Out?
Yes. Hitchcock Presents ran for over a decade, through the 50s into the 60s, as both a half-hour show and then as an hour show. It was extremely variable, but generally entertaining. And Hitchcock, of course, was the host and was very, it really put him on the map in terms of his persona, which he had established earlier, but this really made him a household name to the public. There are some great episodes. Lamb to the Slaughter is one of them. The Jar by Ray Bradbury is another. Ray had a number of adaptations of his stories. 0 Hour, done on Hitchcock. He much preferred how he was treated on the Hitchcock show than he was treated on Twilight Zone. It was a very bitter pill for him, what happened with him on Twilight Zone. But Henry Slesar was a very famous short story writer who ended up writing a lot of episodes of Hitchcock Presents. It was John Houseman was the producer and showrunner. It was a quality show, and Hitchcock actually directed several episodes himself, and he actually shot Psycho with his TV crew on the Universal lot to be able to do that movie for an affordable number. So it's a good show. It's worth watching. In terms of Way Out, I've only really seen one episode, and it was very rough around the edges. It was a show. Way Out was an anthology show based on the stories of Roald Dahl, who wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but he also wrote extremely grim and ironic stories that are really hard to take sometimes. But that was a show with makeup by Dick Smith, the great Oscar-winning makeup artist of The Exorcist. And I could get more into it. I just haven't gotten around to that. I was very surprised when I saw one episode how very rough it was. It looked almost like live TV, and yet it was done in 1959. So very surprising. So he clearly was not the on an equal footing with Serling in terms of execution. And in terms of One Step Beyond, it's an okay show, but not a great show because it's supposed to purportedly based on real events. And Charles Beaumont, who wrote for Twilight Zone, wrote for One Step Beyond, and one of his friends said, "Well, is it really based on true events?" And Beaumont said, "Nah, we just make them up." So, but it was hosted by John Newland, and it's a fun little show, but certainly not on an equivalency with Twilight Zone. So let's see now, who have not we done? Lisa, are you there? I'm not seeing Lisa. I see her chair. And let's see.
Have you done Arena?
Arena, yeah, Arena, you're there. Are you there? You can have a turn if you're there. There you are. Yes, go for it.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
I'm Mark. How are you?
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you. So just, want to check in to see, how's the progress in LA. Here I actually start seeing some posts more coming, very small productions.
Yes.
Kind of the ones that don't require insurance, even though I think now there is a way to get insurance. It's just very expensive, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Everyone's trying to figure out how to do all this stuff. It's, as I said a moment ago, I think it's premature, but we'll see. I mean, also those protests are going to have a ripple effect too. I mean, I'm in favor of what they stand for and what they're accomplishing, but my gosh, I think there's going to be huge amounts of people who get COVID from being in those marches because there was just so many thousands of people, and I think it was vital to happen. And Elaine and I actually were in one of those gatherings, but I think the next few months you're going to see a lot of COVID cases and a lot of fatalities.
Well, not just the protests, but the gatherings.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The Memorial Day gatherings and pool parties and barbecues and all that stuff. I mean, it's very hard to stay isolated, as we all know, and there's a natural inclination to want to get things back to normal, quote unquote. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we're all in new terrain now. I mean, this is all a new country. I mean, a new experience. So, but go ahead, please.
Well, I've been working on my project, my web series, and it is out.
Great.
It's on all the social media, on the YouTube. Gradually kind of building the momentum and still working, of course, on new episodes. Right now, 3 episodes are completed and they're out with some behind-the-scenes footage, and 2 more. I'm hoping, everything goes well. There's some graphics involved, and I'm not a motion graphic designer, so I'm trying to figure out how to do it. But I think I found a way, so I hope that 2 more episodes I'll be able to complete this month, put them out, and, just keep on going. Found a way to shoot very, very efficiently, like literally just me and one more person.
Good.
And also with the friend in LA, actually, you met her. We are planning rehearsals this month, and next month we're going to start shooting also a 7-episode series. But this one is going to be done all basically your style, what you're doing right now. Everyone is safe at home, And that will be very interesting experience, to direct actors remotely and everything remotely.
Yes.
We're keeping it simple. We're not doing any green screen, anything like that.
No.
But still, I want to play with more visuals.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Great. Terrific. Well, thanks. Yay, Irina. Cheers. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. I was just easily answerable question, and that was about our schedule, which is as far as your weekly live streams.
Yes.
Which for this is always on Thursdays,
yes.
because the table meets on Thursdays.
That's right, Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Yep.
Yes.
And also, for those who've come in a little later, we're going to have a Space Command all-day-long live streaming online convention on Mr. Sci-Fi, June 28th from 10 to 6 Pacific time. So just because Neil Gaiman's assistant just emailed me to find out when it was going to be, because they're fans of Space Command. So
awesome.
Yeah, so go for
our
it.
question is from Robbie Riley Esquire,
yes,
who asks any opinion on the original. I hope I get this right. Quatermass.
Yeah,
Quatermass.
I love Quatermass.
Hammer film.
Yes, Quatermass. The Quatermass stories were written by Nigel Neal, and they were produced initially as live TV in England. Quatermass in the Pit, Quatermass 1, etc. And they were wonderful stories. They were then made into movies. And some of them had American stars like Brian Donlevy, which is a little questionable. There was a period where in the 50s where British films would have an American actor who was kind of over the hill, like Forrest Tucker or Brian Donlevy, etc., to help American sales. But the Quatermass films are really fun. You can find them on YouTube, I think, in their live TV versions, the ones that still exist. And then finally, but as he got older, Nigel Neal got very cranky and more reactionary. And so there's one with John Mills playing Quatermass that was made in the 70s, where the hippies are actually hippies because they're being run by aliens from outer space, and that's why they're going crazy and being so peculiar. And that really doesn't stand up as well as some of the ones that were made in the 50s. But I love Quatermass in the Pit, and one of the Quatermass, the first Quatermass story was made into a film called The Creeping Unknown. That's a very good film, and a really cool idea. So I recommend them. Yeah, they're great fun.
Wasn't Quatermass in the Pit, was it 4 million years to Earth or something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was called 4 Million Years to Earth or something like that. And yeah, Hammer made that film. And
trippy.
Huh?
Trippy.
Yeah, but still, and actually, the plot of Quatermass in the Pit, Stephen King ripped off in a book of his called The Tommyknockers. Interestingly enough, so you can watch that show and then read that book, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So okay, great.
Have you tried Earl
So
Smith yet?
so yes, we did Earl. So Akira, I guess you're up. Go for it.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
So how's it going? So this is Akira. I'm a film composer and a guitarist and Japanese language instructor. And right now, what I'm doing is most of the time right now I'm concentrate on more teaching way. I'm preparing for the lessons and almost my worksheet for Japanese and music lesson become it's almost like a book now during this quarantine, because 2 or 3 months I'm working on that kind of stuff, and I'm working on the every student differently, and finally it becomes more it's kind of the one big kind of the worksheet book right now, and right now I'm trying to a little bit more organized and to make a one big kind of set of the instruction plan. And also I'm working on some absolutely indie film too. It's all horror movie, and it's what I'm focusing on. And right now I do not have anything to ask you, just being here and showing up here, and I'm happy to be here.
Great.
With you.
Okay, 3 cheers. Thank you, Akira. And so another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yeah. Question from Wilhelm Sowers,
Hi,
who
Wilhelm.
asks, in TV sci-fi, why are humans
portrayed as either or both as weak, stupid, or emotional basket cases. I've seen this in Star Trek, Stargate, and Star Wars.
Well, humans. Why are humans presented in that way?
I guess.
Well, there's also humans who are like heroes, like Kirk and McCoy and Scotty and Luke Skywalker. So I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, Wilhelm. So if you want to elaborate sort of the question a little more, I can answer it.
Now, Luke Skywalker is not human.
He's not human, really? Could have fooled me, Dave.
A long time ago in a galaxy very far away.
He's pretty whiny, though, I will say.
Yeah, well,
there is that.
First.
Well, we can have that. We can have that conversation later. So, so Lisa, I guess you're up. Go for it.
Hi guys.
Hi.
I hope you're safe in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some bad stuff. I hope you're all
We're fine. Yeah.
well. Good. So I've been working a lot on writing a number of songs, a bunch of them good for these times.
Great.
New one called Throw My Arms Around You, a COVID-19 themed song. And that's going to be done in a week. I'm working with people in New York and singing into whatever I have here and going non-locally back and forth. So it's a new way of doing it, but it's fun.
Cool.
And I'm still looking for someone to help me turn my musical Mother Me Therapy into a one-woman thing. So I need a director to kind of help me out with that. I'd like to do it online, if possible.
Great.
And I'm a therapist for 30 years, and for artists especially. So I have a creative arts collaboratory on Sundays at 5, and I've advertised it with you guys, so you're all welcome. Meditation, yoga therapy, trying to save the world and ourselves kind of thing. And keep being artists. So a support group for artists. And what else? Working on a book about the world family. And I would love if anybody needs someone who can, sing and act and play a therapist really well. Love to have a part. So
cool. Well, that's also where the table email can be very useful, because it can go out to the entire membership, and there's thousands of people who are members of the table.
And there are a lot of one-person show people who have had coaches walk them through it. So if you go out to the table and say, I'm looking for a producer coach to help me with the show, I have all of these assets, you might, dramaturg, you might find somebody who would be appropriate. You might be able to find someone.
Cool. Great.
All right, that'd be wonderful. And Mark, I just want to say that I mean, a lot of my music is sounds of animals in the ocean that I sing with and chant with, and a lot of it sounds like outer space. So
How fun. That's very fun. Yeah, well, if you haven't ever seen Star Trek 4, you should, because that's the one with the whales. Yeah, exactly.
I have a lot of humpback whale sounds, but anyway, some of it sounds kind of
what was the music video you told us about a few weeks ago?
It's called Invisible Me.
Yes, that's right. If anybody hasn't punched that one up, you should. It's very nice.
Oh, great. Well, thanks, you, Dave. Thanks, Lisa. Yay! Sweet cheers. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Our next question is another question from Robbie Riley, Esquire.
Okay.
Who asks, why do movies that take place in the future always have staircases with no backs to the steps?
Huh. Well, that's an interesting question. I think you need, I was going to say you need to get out more, but now it's, of course, not the time for that. I have no idea. I mean, the whole point with science fiction design is just to make things look cool. And, and so you're always looking for something that's going to be visually interesting on the screen. And so, I mean, that's probably the reason it's funny because science fiction always is predicting things that actually do come about, and then there's always things that nobody could have predicted. Like nobody, if any science fiction writer had ever written a president like Trump, no one would have believed it. Nobody. And whereas we all have cell phones that are like the communicators, and here we are video conferencing like they said we were going to do, and back in the 20s and 30s they had those kind of things. Like if you look at Metropolis, or things to come. So You know, so yeah, I don't know the answer, but it's certainly an interesting question. So now I guess Judy Beecher has arrived. So Judy, did you want to take your turn? If you're there, Judy, are you there? Judy, are you not there? Not there. And then there was also Sheila Asher.
Hi.
There you are,
Hi,
Judy. Yeah, go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, there you are.
There you are.
Oh, probably can't see me though.
That's okay. There you are. Yeah, we can see you. Yeah, that's good.
Oh.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. So I was just saying.
Look at that.
I'm Judy. I'm actress, writer, director, producer, singer, songwriter, voiceover.
Great.
Voiceover artist. I was part of a really beautiful reading today of it was for social justice. So it was a huge place land that they had with people all over the world. And I wrote a piece of mine was performed, and I performed someone else's piece in it. It was really, really beautiful, and powerful, and it was a great thing. I hope they put it on YouTube. I'm not sure what they're going to do with it afterwards, but it was nice to be a part of that and have my piece read and to perform in it as well. So I feel like I'm being creative during this time period. And just still working on my short, trying to put that together. That's what I've been doing. I'm a little tired, so I don't know think right now. I did a little bit of shooting the first part of my film, and I'm still working on the other stuff, trying to figure out the details and the casting.
Well, that's great. You're amazingly busy. You know, you're like the little Energizer bunny. That's terrific.
I am. I'm amazingly. I'm busier now than I've ever been. I feel like, and I'm going to be participating in Cannes at the Cannes Online Film Festival.
Wow.
As a production company, so I'm setting up meetings and stuff right now for that. And then I finally, my French producers for my documentary, they've kind of disappeared during this time, and they finally resurfaced. I sent them my grandfather's, the through line of my story of my documentary is my grandfather's tape. And I sent it to them, so they hadn't heard it yet. They listened to it, and they want me to send them all of my footage. We have nothing signed yet.
No, don't do it.
So they want me to send all the footage so they can see. They have a different idea of a storyline than what I have written.
Okay.
They see it more as a historical story that's just my grandfather's story, when it's my mother and my grandparents' story. So you don't think I should. They said they're going to send me a hard drive. They want to look at the footage.
No, I mean,
see what I've shot so far.
Well, what do you want to have happen?
I want the film to be made and finished and
do you
out
want,
there. I want it to be a film though that I like. That is not.
You have to use the magic word. You have to use the magic word. Magic. No. The magic word is no. If they want to do the story that's not the story you want to do, you say no.
I'm not quite sure what the story is that they want to do. Like they haven't. I don't know. And they said that they wanted to see what I've already shot so that they can help put the story together. To see what I have as footage-wise, because they haven't seen any of the footage.
Yeah. I mean,
they probably do the post-production in France because they're part of a post-production facility.
I would just be very nervous about giving them all your footage without a written agreement. I think that's problematical. I just think it's problematical. That's giving them a lot of stuff that they shouldn't have. The real question with any deal, anything is who's in power, who has the final say. And the moment you give that up, then anything can happen. bad or good. And so,
But I mean, it's my film, so I have the final say. If it's my film and it's my footage, and it's my mother, and it's my grandparents.
Only if you have a
right?
contract. Only if you have a contract, and the contract has to specify what you want. Because remember, they can take your footage, do whatever the hell they're going to do with it, and then your option is, well,
if you're just letting them look at it.
no, but I just would be very, very careful.
How can they take my footage and do if I don't give my consent? If it's my footage, if I they have nothing in writing. How could they do that?
It depends on how deep their pockets are. I mean, it's never fun to have to sue somebody. It's always a nightmare, and so you just have to protect yourself. I mean, again, if you're giving them the footage, you could first send an agreement saying to them, this is not giving you approval to utilize this footage in any way. You are merely being given approval to look at this footage. Recognize that Judy Beecher is the copyright holder of this material. Have them sign it and send it back to you before you send them the material. That protects you. Okay? But never, never, never give, I mean, it's just like, I'm
the owner of the footage until we come up with an agreement between us, a contract between us.
In theory.
That's how they're going to.
In theory, but no, never assume that people won't do the worst possible thing. Okay? I mean, for instance, to give you a story, I was hired to write a book with Guillermo del Toro. I had a contract that specified that my credit, that was on the front of the book, that was on the spine of the book, all of this stuff. I spent 5 years writing the book. And then when I see the book about to come out, they've run 20,000 copies without my name on the book as the author. Okay? And so I had a choice of suing them, letting them put out the first printing with my name not on the book that I wrote, or so I got into this mix. It was a real nightmare. And they published, if you go online, you'll find 20,000 copies of that book that do not list me as the author. Okay? Now, Guillermo del Toro was not aware of that had been done. And finally, I went to Guillermo and said, what the fuck is the problem with this? What's happening with this? Because they had told me, the publisher told me that was Guillermo's decision. And because my agent was too afraid to say, because I was saying, I need to go to Guillermo, and my agent said, no, don't. You don't want to get him angry. Stupid. And so they published 20,000 copies of a book I wrote without my name on the book. Okay? Now, interestingly enough, because most of the book is a conversation between me and Guillermo del Toro, my initials are throughout the book, MSZ. But it was only the 20,001st copy when they ran the book again that has my name on it. Okay? So you would say, well, they couldn't do that. I had signed contract with them. What I would have had to have done was gotten an injunction to stop them from releasing the book at Christmas. And I had to decide whether I wanted to allow them to release that book at Christmas or not. Now, in retrospect, the moment I knew that this was what was going to happen, I should have called Guillermo directly or emailed him directly, and then something would have been done. But because everyone else was advising me and people were lying to me, I didn't do that. So never assume that terrible things can't happen, because they can. And I'm proud of the work I did on that book. I'm proud the book now has my name on it. But my God, I never would have dreamed a publisher would take my name off a book I wrote without my permission and against what the contract specifically said. Now, could I have sued them? Yes. But would it have cost me thousands of dollars? Would it have fucked everything up? Yes. Would I have won? Yes. But it would have been a Pyrrhic victory where, everything would have gone south. So, again, so what I'm saying is, if they're asking for all your footage, get it in writing, that they understand that they are just being given the right to view the footage and do nothing at all with it beyond that. Okay, you must have that in writing. Okay, so there you go. That's my advice. Okay, so because
I know bad things can happen. We already had my German partner already stole the footage.
Yeah.
My production took it and charged me all this money to get it back.
Yes, exactly. So again,
So
you want to have that specifically. So great. Well, thanks, Judy. Good to see you. Yay, Judy!
Congratulations on all the work. That's great.
So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing the math here, and we've got more Mr. Sci-Fi questions than table members left. So
yeah. So we don't need to answer all those questions. Just choose one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna choose a very good one from Ziggy, who asks,
Hi, Ziggy.
Do you know if you're going to upload any files online for people to 3D print props and stuff
from Space Command?
We haven't done that yet. It's an interesting idea. It's a good idea, actually. I can talk to my team about that. That'd be fun. I mean, we certainly have 3D files of a lot of things, including the Paladin, our spaceship, and so forth. So yeah, I can get into that with my team. It's an interesting idea. So let's see. So I think we've covered everybody except Sheila Atchison, who doesn't seem to be there. So I guess now it's Elaine. Wonderful Elaine.
Oh, me.
Yay, Elaine. Big ears, Elaine.
Okay, well, it's a lot nicer out of doors than in this apartment. I just found out walking the dogs.
Because of the heat. It was
Because
90 degrees today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, just plugging away, and we're watching the clock. Just we're just keeping track of what the state was going to say and what the restrictions are going to be.
Yeah.
Because we're working on blocking, and we have to now
the new Space Command episode.
The new Space Command episode. We have to look at that. But it has been exciting to work with really amazing actors on the Ripple Effect.
But meantime,
I'm working to get both the South African piece, Subversive, and Voiceless Roar,
your feature,
up and going.
Yes.
Trying to get the money and the lead, hand in hand.
Well, she's looking for anyone who has a line to Mark Ruffalo, because she's very interested in him playing the lead in Voiceless Roar. So our VP of Development, Michelle, is actually pursuing that now,
and
she's also pursuing.
South African piece.
She's also arranging a meeting with BBC, a submission with BBC on that project. So yeah.
So just keeping busy. Yeah.
So anything you need?
No, nothing. Unless you have access to a great deal of money or a lead. So
okay.
Yay.
So.
I can get you Mark Ruffalo's home address.
That's good.
Really?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Sure. Yep. That'll help.
I'll take it.
Yeah, Elaine can mail herself to him.
Thank you.
That'll be great. So, Adam, we could have one last Mr. Sci-Fi question.
Yeah, let's do. How about let's do this one from. Where did I see it? I know I saw a good one. Are you familiar? This is another question from Robbie Riley, Esquire.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds?
Yes, and it's something I've tried to get into. I'm a big H.G. Wells fan. I love the novel and the movies, but I have never really been able to quite get into that, and I'm not sure why. I listened to both the original version and the more recent one that was released, and I just don't know why it's not my cup of tea, but it just isn't, and I'm not sure why that is, but
great artwork in the double album though.
Yes, very much so, but just c'est la vie. So now I guess it's my turn. Me, wonderful me, yay! So
they've been talking about doing an animated version of it for decades now.
Yes.
Which, I'm a fan of it, so I would like to see that. But
but
there's a stage show as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I don't know the answer, but so okay, me. So what's going on is, as we mentioned, we're doing Ripple Effect, which is the 2-hour episode that we've done entirely during the pandemic, and that's going to premiere at the Space Command online convention June 28th, and that convention will be free. So tell your friends. Additionally, we've posted the first hour episode under the name The Greatest Star Trek Series You're Not Watching, and we've topped 500,000 views on that in just the last few weeks, so that's terrific. It's still going, and we're still under consideration by Amazon for both Space Command and Magic Time. I'm writing the Greenlighting Yourself book. Elaine's helping, and I'm also, she gave me notes on Sweet Haven, fairly minor notes. The script came out well, and so as soon as I get those changes put in, we're gonna do the table read on Zoom with our cast, and then put that out on Mr. Sci-Fi. And the book, by the way, is Greenlighting Yourself. I've already sold it to Silman James, my publisher, on the Twilight Zone Companion, so I just have to finish writing it. Additionally, we're doing the Showrunners Network with other showrunners as well as Rockne O'Bannon. So Mark Fergus from The Expanse is going to be one of those people. And what else? I mean, we're staying hale and hearty. We're well.
Nice article on the Deep Space Nine.
Yes. For those who don't know, I'm the writer who came up with Far Beyond the Stars on Deep Space Nine, which dealt with the whole issue of police brutality and Black identity in the 1950s world of science fiction. This was done 20 years ago, and there was an article today pointing out that it was a Star Trek successfully dealing with Black Lives Matter before Black Lives Matter was a slogan. But I've always felt very, very strongly about subjects of equality and all of that. So so that's great. That was great. I'm very proud to have been part of that. And I just gave an interview to the science consultant on all the new Star Trek series, and it was a great interview. It's on my Facebook page. I also posted it on my Twitter feed, so check it out if you can. And other things are going on, but that's the main stuff. Very eager to share the new Space Command episodes with everybody, and the radio play, and the novel, which is written now and which we just have to put out. And it keeps going. The comic books, and the Art of Mark Zickery book, which is going to be coming very, very soon. David and I have to get on top of that. Now I see Rosie Gordon has just come aboard. Do you want to have your turn, Rosie? You just have to unmute if you can. Oh no.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I joined late. My temple reopened. I'm in mourning now for my mom. I have to pray twice a day. So my temple reopened, and they have services morning and night. So I literally just got back, and I remembered there's a meeting. And
Yes.
thought, well, better late than never. Why not join?
Sure. Of course.
Yeah. So honestly, as much as I'm sad about my career being on hold, so much is going on. As you know, I'm in another brand new city, and it's been difficult. And honestly, it's comprising all of my time because I'm not happy. And I've been actually calling my roommate in LA. They're bugging me to come to LA, but I can't. The borders, and also I hear it's so dangerous, and flying is bad too. But actually, as of midnight, everything's open here. So I'm calling my agent tomorrow. I got a wonderful agent here.
Great.
And I'm going to see if maybe there's work here. I know in other parts of Canada there are, and I know LA's opening up. And what I might do in the interim, if I can't get work, is I'm going to work on my production, on the production. And I've got a few ideas about writing, a few more things to write, surrounding COVID and all of that. So, but yeah, I think of it all the time. I really miss the film world. I miss acting. Sure. I miss producing. I miss working on everything. But unfortunately, my life took a huge turn, as you know, for the worst back a few months ago. And it's just not my time to do my career now. But as I said, slowly, I do want to get back into it, and I'm going to try.
Great.
And other than that, different world, different life. Not much excitement here.
Yeah, well, we all have to take care of each other and stay have our heads screwed on straight. So okay, well, good to see you, Rosie, and sorry about your mom.
You too, and thank you, and I hope next time I can join much sooner. How's everybody? How's everything out there?
Great, everything's good. I mean, people are wearing masks. People are social distancing. It's good. I mean, we're still under lockdown pretty much, but it's, if I was going to be locked down with anybody, Elaine is the perfect person. We're actually, I should mention that June 25th will be our 43rd wedding anniversary. So isn't that great?
Wow.
Yeah. So,
23rd. Wow.
Yeah. So if we just known to invest in Apple, we would have been fine. So, but yeah, no, it's great. It's terrific. We're happy, and we're doing great productive work. So Adam, maybe one more Mr. Sci-Fi question, then we'll bid everyone adieu.
Let's see. Let's do, I did that one.
Or if not, it's
it's fine.
Do you have one you like? You want to do again?
Yes.
I don't know about that one.
That's funny.
Here we go. Another one from Scott Baker.
Okay.
Wasn't the Great Machine of Epsilon 3 on Babylon 5 an homage to the Krell on Forbidden Planet?
Yes. And, because Joe Straczynski and I both came up through written and movie and TV science fiction extensively. So we're very knowledgeable about the genre. And so you'll see a lot of those. And I mean, and also, Michelle was talking about The Demolished Man, which is a very famous 1950s science fiction novel by Alfred Bester. And in his, and it deals with telepathy. And in Babylon 5, Walter Koenig played a psi cop, a telepathy cop who was named Alfred Bester. So that was very much his tip of the hat. So yeah, absolutely. So on that note, we're here every Thursday, 5:30 Pacific time. Thank you guys. It's been wonderful as always.
And Michelle, you and I will have to meet at someone's house with a big net.
With a big net?
Yes, to capture him.
Call me on the phone.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you guys will talk. So okay, great.
And,
oh yes, I know.
And Elaine, if you need help setting up that table read, I can. I've recorded table reads.
Great.
Like on Zoom, if you want to do it on Zoom.
Terrific.
Yeah.
That'll be great. Thank you, Adam. So great. Well, so to the table and to Mr. Sci-Fi, stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye. Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Do well.
Bye. So there we go.
See you later.
See you later.
Okay,
Bye.
and we end Mr. Sci-Fi, and we are done.